Poisonrana.
I'm hearing music.
We're live.
Oh,
yeah.
We're live. Hello.
That's why I said go.
Hello.
Hello.
Braden Herrington here with Davie Portman for Poisonrana, and we're live on our YouTube page.
Yes, youtube.com/@Poisonrana pod, I think. Yes. Hello.
Yeah.
How we doing?
We need a theme song. We need to get the guy who did the Up Next one, because I think the fans are asking. We got new shows with Detox and What Up Doe, and people are like, "Oh, I love these. Where's the Poisonrana one?" I'm like, "All right, we're gonna get it, guys." And merch. I hear you people messaging us. We're gonna work on it. We're getting all that stuff. So one thing at a time, and surely each building block, we're getting there. So yeah, but welcome to the show.
Hello. Yes, this is our end of year review. It's December 31st. This is the end of our first month as Poisonrana, and we thought we'd take this opportunity to kind of go back and look over this entire crazy 2022. One of the wildest years in wrestling, I think.
Yeah, easily the craziest year of professional wrestling, with, I'd say, two big stories that even had non-wrestling fans talking about that we'll obviously get into. But I feel like every wrestling fan who's deep into this shit, we know Vince McMahon will one day not be the captain of the ship, and in 2022 that day came. So therefore, wrestling may possibly change forever. So that's kind of like the biggest thing that a lot of fans are like, okay, well then now where can we go from here? So 2022 kind of started that.
Yeah, and was so big it kind of like drowned out a lot of other huge stories that in other years might be like the biggest story of the year. And we're going to go through kind of starting right back. We're going to start back from actually December 31st from last year, where it all kind of went down. But before we get into all the like news stories of the year, we have done our best and worst show with John and Wei. I believe that drops Sunday, I think. Sunday or Monday. Where we're talking about our favorite matches and kind of our best and worst like wrestlers and moments and all that kind of stuff. But thought this could be a good opportunity to talk about maybe some other moments we didn't get a chance to talk about. So what were some of your like highlights of the year? Not necessarily your favorite matches, but things that stick out for the right reasons or the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the wrestling, like actual in-ring stuff, I feel like this year was just awesome. I feel like every year wrestlers are just stepping their game up, and talent are like definitely getting into like next levels. Like WWE, the problem was never the talent. The problem was how the show was booked and produced, and the stories and all this stuff. The talent, when they get to shine, they always shine. So for the highlights of the year, like, are a lot of specific wrestling matches, obviously, but there was also like a lot of storylines and good angles and things that made me want to like continue to watch the match. AEW, I feel like they're so like catch-22. They're so like dead in the middle of they'll have a month or a story or something that gets you so into it and gets you like, oh wow, I can't wait to tune in next week. I can't wait to see where this goes. I love this. This is great. But then they'll have a story that you go, wow, I can't wait for this to be over. I can't imagine why they do this. So
I feel a big problem with AEW right now, and I think we've really seen it this year, is I think there does need to be some sort of creative team there, because I know it's very much letting people do their own thing, but how many times have we seen the same kind of segment happen back to back with different usually factions, but the same kind of stories going on. I think a lot of this kind of maybe Jamie Hayter, Britt Baker stuff has been put on the back burner because you've got kind of the same story that happened with MJF and Wardlow. So I think maybe another time you'd have struck that iron maybe a little sooner than they have, and they're still kind of putting that one off. Well, and I do think, but then you get like fantastic stuff like the CM Punk MJF stuff, which just like the cream rises to the crop. But yeah, definitely I think there needs to be a bit more like cohesion between the whole show, and you know, some of these contract stories they got to go.
Contract stories. Yeah, I hate how something will get a little buzz online about contract tampering. Then they turn it into stories and angles and stuff like that. I think that's so stupid. I'm like, everything else you guys do is pretty smart, but once in a while they try to do these like smart marky things that definitely like
we've seen it with Max Caster's raps as well. Sometimes like there's a line that is like a deep cut for like the internet fans, and you just hear like crickets in the crowd, like, oh, I didn't really get that reference. So kind of playing with their audience, like how much of them are like looking this deeply into everything.
Because something that is like, there was lots of news stories, and I feel like the news stories overshined what people were talking about more than like the actual content. Obviously, what comes to mind is All Out. Like as soon as the CM Punk stuff happens, then everyone kind of forgets about the show itself, and everyone just wants to know what's going to happen with that. Is this real? Is this? And I felt like 2022 had a lot more of the people being like, wait, is that real? Is that true? Wait, Cody's leaving? What are you talking about, Cody?
Yeah, like I feel the Cody whole. I mean, we're gonna get there in a bit. We've got a whole section dedicated to Cody today. But yeah, I think those kind of shoot promos can work sometimes. It depends how cute you're getting with it and how deep you're getting it. And I think a lot of the thing we say, both with WWE and AEW, is okay, but what is the match? And I think that's the thing. Whenever you're kind of doing these references or whatever, cool, but like what is its purpose? If its purpose is to like blur the like lines between like shoot and kayfabe, if you will, to get a story more heated that will eventually become a match. For example, Punk MGF, fantastic. If it's maybe Hangman Punk, where it leads to a lot of detriment, maybe not the best thing. Or if it's just so much where, like, I don't know, Bow Wow and Jade, like, cool, that's cool, you've got that tie-in, but where is it going? And Bow Wow seems to have disappeared with Shaq. He went in that same ambulance, I think.
I don't think anyone's complaining about that, though. I think we're like, that's okay. We'll let that one go.
Are you sure you don't want the Bow Wow feud in 2023?
Hey, look, I actually do, but like we don't. Do we need it? Yeah. No, it's the feud the people want, but it's not the feud people need right now. Essentially, Jade needs to have feuds with wrestlers.
Yeah.
To get better at wrestling. She's fantastic. I love the character. She was a highlight for me of just running her mouth, talking so much shit, and she's great at it. And look at the way she looks and comes across.
Well, we didn't do costume of the year this year, wins, but absolutely. Like that dollar bill outfit she wore was fantastic.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best like looks in such a long time that it stands out. Obviously, she's wearing a bikini that's made out of $1 $100 bills or whatever, but like it looks like she looks like $1 million, literally. So like it looks fantastic. I'm trying to think of other ones actually that now we're on that topic.
Some outfits I did like I liked Seth Rollins this year kind of fucking with his opponents, like right back at the Royal Rumble, his match with Roman, coming out to the Shield music in his Shield gear, wearing the polka dots against Cody. I thought things like that were pretty smart.
I loved his Elton John Devil.
Yeah,
was that Clash at the Castle?
I think so, yeah.
I usually think Seth is also hit and miss with his gear, but I loved when he came out like that red devil-y Elton John thing, and over in the UK, I thought that was pretty sweet. The visual of it looks amazing. So.
Scripps, worst costume of the year.
Scripps, easily the worst outfit. Absolutely, no disagreement there. I can't even think of any like really indie guy on AEW that you would say is worse than Scripps. Like, look, the gear-wise.
No.
So, like, yeah.
It looks like he tried to make a Serpentico costume and ran out of money, and Serpentico don't have the greatest outfit to start with.
I will. This is totally nitpicking. Your gear shit. Shout out WH Park. But like when wrestlers do the Zack Ryder, where it's like one leg half.
It's always bad.
It doesn't look good.
Nikos Ricos. Cool.
Yeah. Oh, I miss him. There's someone in Women of Wrestling. I mentioned I've watched that a bunch, and there's like a gimmick of like all scary, spooky goth girls. It's basically the House of Black, but women, and one of them has the Zack Ryder thing, but then like where she doesn't have tights on her one side, it's just this giant tattoo of a chainsaw, and then they go, oh, that's your name now, Chainsaw. So it's like, which one of them is her? Oh yeah,
the one with the chainsaw.
And I'm like, not quite the best look, but yeah. I'm trying to think of some other ones. There was some good ones.
So outfits, I think Becky had some outrageous outfits this year when she was in a big time
when she was Lady
character.
Gaga. Yeah. Oh, you know what?
Carmelo Hayes always Top Gear.
Yeah. Edge. Actually, particularly the Raw in Toronto that he main evented that we went to, he had like the Hitmen mixed with like Team Canada hockey.
His are always like Gargano's were, where they were kind of subtle, like loads of different references. Where if you like study it, you're like, oh, that's cool, that's that, which I always appreciate. Yeah, some good year.
Yeah, there's some
gear
good
this
gear.
year.
Yeah, I enjoyed all that.
I think there's been a bunch of like moments as well this year that people just forget because of how crazy a year it's been. For example, I completely forgot until I looked, kind of looking over the year, like Lita had a match this year against Becky Lynch, and that's like, I don't know, another year that could have been a pretty big deal. We've seen her in the Rumble and things like that, but actually having a big singles title match, that was pretty big deal at the time, which completely forgot by the end of the year.
I mean, Jeff Hardy wrestled in AEW.
Jeff Hardy, we'll get into Jeff in a bit. Things like Dolph Ziggler coming down to NXT. That's kind of, oh yeah, that happened. Was actually NXT champion for a bit.
If you look back at the week, the kind of year of 2.0, like definitely still trying to find its like place and what they are, and this Degrassi High thing. They had a lot of callback. They had a lot of people coming down from the main roster visiting. You had that AJ Styles Waller feud. You had some of the NXT guys showing up on Raw and vice versa, and then
Braun winning the title on Raw.
Yeah, Braun won back the title on Raw, which to like the crowd just didn't really care.
I will say I'm actually quite enjoying NXT at the moment. The last few months, I think it has found its footing. I think it has found its balance between the kind of the goofy skits, which you assume they're using to kind of, you know, build characters and that kind of thing, with in-ring quality, and just actually logical week-to-week storytelling. I do think it's back there. It's in a different time now where I think this product, I think the current NXT product, if this was if AEW didn't exist, I think it would be getting a lot more buzz than it is, because I do think there is some like really good talent there, good matches every week. I think that Deadline show actually turned a lot of heads. I really enjoyed that Pretty Deadly New Day match, and I thought the Iron Survivor was absolutely a hit that I can see them going back to. That the men's Iron Survivor match especially was excellent. So, but I think we're just at that point of over-saturation. It's almost got that Impact thing where, by all accounts, Impact had a pretty good year, but it's, do you have time for another 2-hour wrestling show? And the answer for a lot of people is no. I've got my Dynamite and I've got SmackDown, and that's kind of enough for me.
And you know what? You're kind of hitting on the head, because I put my tippy toes back into Raw this year. We went to Raw, had one of my favorite Raw live experiences, like possibly ever. It was just such a good show. But I've still not watched Raw week to week. It's something I can't just like jump into. I've tried, and I'm still kind of the same way. Where I find SmackDown is completely different. SmackDown's just has great wrestling, and then the Bloodline storyline, which has been this whole year. So really, that's the show to watch. And then you can
kind of forgive the shit, because it's only, like, I mean, if you're watching it on catch up, it's what, an hour and a half, like, so you can kind of whiz through it.
Good
and you
wrestling,
get some good matches. You get the Gunther stuff.
You get Gunther. You're getting Legato as well. So like, there's been some really good stuff on SmackDown. I will say, obviously, like, show of the year still running forward as promotion war. Not a promotion war. You're wrestling fans. We can enjoy more than one thing. You can enjoy more than one band. You can enjoy more than one TV channel. There's things you can enjoy. I do, however, love Dynamite. It is still makes me love this shit week by week. Even when it's a bad episode, I still really enjoy watching it. I don't think it shows that, as just a fan, I don't think I've missed an episode of Dynamite. I think even on days when we haven't even done shows or podcasts or vacations, I was stuck in Mexico by the beginning of last year when there wasn't. I watched it, so it shows that I just genuinely love watching the week-to-week show. And there has been some good stuff on it, because I feel like this year there was a lot of good talking. MJF obviously leading the charge in that. Eddie Kingston, though, could definitely sell you on absolutely any match if he ever was given the opportunity. But Jon Moxley leaving a really big impression on me with his promo, talking about his his demons, if you will.
Yeah, the kind of post rehab promo. Also the post brawl out promo in Buffalo that we were at.
Right.
Like the rallying the troops kind of promo. He's been fantastic on the mic.
Yeah, are we counting CM Punk's All Out backstage promo
as a
promo?
promo?
I don't think so. Just the old man yells at
Cloud.
son.
Yeah.
You had Christian Cage telling Jungle Boy, "Your dad's dead,"
over and over again. Yep. Who else?
There's some good stuff. I enjoyed. I mean, Ricky Starks by the end of the year really coming into his own with his promos. I mean, he already was a good promo guy. Oh, Dax. Fight Like a Girl.
Yep.
That was a great promo as well over on Dynamite. But obviously the wrestling has been good, but Dynamite is finding their footing of really good storylines. But again, they have done a really good job this past year, and good promos on a lot of these guys is what kind of it makes me keep coming back, and I really do enjoy watching. Obviously, we do podcasts about wrestling, but this week was a ton of fun because it felt crazy, man. You had, like we said, Jeff Hardy comes in. You had this going on. I was like, what's TK's checkbook here? He just keeps bringing people in. And if it's not that, then he was setting up huge, big matches. I thought he did a really good job. I will say he doesn't come across looking good from the Punk stuff, which he's still never really
I'd say this has been his weakest year.
Yeah.
I think this is where you have seen the problems of
cracks.
Hiring too many people and then not knowing what to do with certain people who you don't want to maybe put out there and lose, but you're not ready for them to win anything major. So you end up having your Brian Cages and your Miros and those kind of people who are very talented and are just kind of on the outside when you're seeing Trustbusters and Tony Nese weekly. I think the ROH and the New Japan stuff definitely muddied it this year and made it a lot less focused a lot of the time. And I'm hoping 2023 moving forwards, everything's a little bit more focused and streamlined. Still definitely the best show, but I think this you were starting to see those kind of the honeymoon period's worn off of the beginning of Dynamite, and we're starting to see a few cracks here and there, but the quality always shines through, which makes it entertaining.
Okay, not just AEW. Before we kind of jump into the whole quick, we're going to fly through different topics. We're going to hit you with different topics, and even at the end, maybe some non-wrestling topics as well of things that happened this year. But just kind of flat out, what are some moments this year that you absolutely hated or laughed out loud at, maybe when you weren't supposed to, or just not great moments, give or take?
A lot of the Joe Gacy stuff earlier in the year with Bron Breakker. I just the whole both the Eddie Kingston's story with Jericho kind of just being pawned off to Brian essentially, and Kingston disappearing.
Yeah, that was weird.
That was kind of weird. Being demoted to this Sammy feud. Similarly, the Daniel Garcia story, which they seem to be putting back on track now with him sort of shadowing Sammy. But that whole thing where he kind of left JAS and then went back to JAS and then again kind of seemed to get a demotion, I thought that was a bit weird. They were two things where I'm like, come on, you had something there and you've decided to just let it go.
Yeah.
The Bryan injury obviously kind of didn't help things because it looked like we were getting a Kingston Bryan match. I think they did have one on a Rampage earlier in the year, but it looked like they were building with that with the end of Anarchy in the Arena, that you were maybe going Bryan Kingston before that final Kingston Jericho match. But yeah, the Garcia stuff's baffling. So they're two things that kind of I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, because the Garcia thing was, you could see the plan as soon as he sided with Jericho in the beginning when that group formed. You could see this is a great pet project for them to then work on, and then he eventually goes to work with his hero Danielson, and they did that, and then they teased that, and then they almost did it, and then they didn't, and then they almost did it, and then they tease you, and then there's teases and swerves. It was like trying to swerve almost, and then just ended up fizzling out, and now he's just a side piece again. So
you can leave things too long as well. If you think the kind of reports are that Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey is off.
Yeah.
Think about, we went to that Mania in New York. What was that, 35?
Yeah.
That was the match. Ended up being a triple threat, which is fine, but that was the match that everyone no, it's Becky versus Ronda. That is the match. That's the huge marquee match. And they didn't do it. And then Ronda went away for a couple of years. Came back, you're like, okay, that's the match we're getting to. Ronda v. Becky. And they're like, okay, well, we've got this 2 Mania plan with Ronda. We're going to do the Charlotte match first, and then we'll do the Becky match. Fast forward, it's now, this is, we're getting into Mania season. It's coming up to the Rumble. We're starting to build those feuds. And then on last night's SmackDown, Charlotte just comes out and takes the title from Ronda. Reports are saying, maybe Becky isn't interested, because Ronda is so flat now. And that was such a thing you could have capitalized on, where now I'm like, you're 3-4 years too late with that match now. Yeah. And that's the problem. That's the problem if you leave these things. The Garcia story, it ends up fizzling out. Eddie Kingston feels maybe at the lowest he's been since signing with AEW.
For sure.
And I hope they don't have the same thing with Jamie Hayter and Britt, but that again is getting muddied. We were getting there with Jamie, and then Saraya came in and had the match with Britt, and now Jamie's champion.
And they're the good guys anyways now.
And so it's you risk it. It's definitely you have these plans, but you do have to learn when to strike when hot, I think.
Yeah,
and we've seen that in both companies.
I really think Daniel look, we were fans of him from the beginning, and finally seeing him on Dynamite week to week was really good. Buffalo kids, stay strong. But the fact that he definitely evolved and got so good at, I think, talking and emotions and hearing him. We've talked about, I think, him on Jericho or something, just expressing things that he has learned and differences. He was already a really good worker, but now he's really well-rounded. Some of the promos he's cut in this feud went undetected. I think he wasn't appreciated enough. I think his promos and his swag are really believable.
Watching him when he's not talking as well in all those segments, you always know exactly okay, is he happy to be here? Is he happy wearing the hat this week? Is he mad about wearing a hat? Is he pissed off at Sammy? Is he all that stuff?
Another thing that happened this year, he got his hat swagger jacked by Jake Hager.
Yeah.
Jack Swagger.
Yeah.
Because that's funny. Because now he wears the hat and
does.
sells the hat that says, I like this hat.
I like this hat.
Which, everyone knows Garcia was rocking the Kangol, and that became a thing way before the bucket hat with Hager. But Garcia, I still think he'll have his time, but I really loved a lot of his matches, and particularly the stuff with Danielson was just so good. So someone that I still think will be okay, but weird how you watch a movie or you watch a TV show, he felt like one of the main storylines of the thing, and then by the end of the movie he's dropped off.
It's getting him to that level where your kind of diehards are going to love a Daniel Garcia who appreciates the wrestling and stuff, but it's getting those casuals like we're seeing with Sami Zayn, being a fan of Sami Zayn's wrestling since way before he was in WWE.
Sure.
But now you're getting those casuals who maybe don't care about in-ring quality so much being but Sami is our guy, and I think that's what, again, strike the iron when it's hot.
Yeah.
What were any other things you didn't like?
Okay.
I know you wanted to bring something up on worst of, but forgot.
Something I forgot that happened in 2022 in wrestling, but oh man, one of the worst moments in wrestling in 2022 has to be in NXT when Cora Jade turned on her so-called best friend, Roxanne Perez, by beating her up with a paper skateboard. She goes to hit her with her skateboard that she never, ever skated on to begin with. It goes to hit her with it, but as she lifts it up in midair, it turns into paper and flies away. So really, she hits her friend with what looks like a single piece of sheet of paper.
Yeah.
And looked awful, howled laughing, and they did a good job of editing it out in the vignettes and stuff like that to make it look like she's just going to hit her, but man, did that look real bad. It's
one of those really unfortunate things where the performer then looks shitty and they're put in it's the exploding barbed wire death match, isn't it? On a smaller scale, but it's okay, as a Roxanne, am I do I sell this, or am I like, no, you hit me with paper? If you're an Eddie, it's like, wait, am I dead? Am I dead? Shall I get back up again?
Yeah.
And you think in hindsight, there's all this stuff. Okay, the board's broken. I'm just going to kick the shit out of you instead.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they felt it's always unfortunate, those kind of things.
It was funny. It was really funny. But yeah, Cora Jade is no Tony Hawk.
I mean, I would say even a bit more recently that Rick Ross in-ring segment. Well, I loved him backstage. That was a fucking mess.
Yeah, that segment was pretty messy, yeah.
Trying to think of any other segments.
You a big motherfucker. Got me howling as well. Already saved on my phone. But yeah, love that. But yeah, the paper skateboard was definitely something that made me laugh over this year. It was a good time. Yeah, I don't know what else did I not like. I didn't like the Joe Gacy stuff. We kind of mentioned that. But I would say for the most part, like from what I watched, was pretty good. I know there was, I mean, we're going to go through some stuff. But another kind of dropped ball to me so far, The Fiend returning. Or sorry, Bray
Wyatt, yeah.
Like having this huge, interesting thing and then coming back.
The White Rabbit, which was excellent. So good.
And then kind of just not doing jack shit since coming back. And and now he's having a Mountain Dew pitch black match with LA Knight.
There's slow burns and then there's like real slow burns. He came back, October the 8th was when he came back. All the White Rabbit stuff started about a month before then. And he still hasn't had his first match. We still don't really know a great deal. I like LA Knight, but weird first feud to have. It just seems... It seems again maybe they haven't completely thought this through and fully, and and we've had that before with The Fiend. It's like, cool, the entrance is cool, the mask's cool, but like, where are we going with it, and what is the match? So yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I hope they can turn it round, but we've seen so many of these things with Bray Wyatt in the past where it just doesn't work.
I just want to know, what does Mountain Dew Pitch Black taste like?
Probably like a lot of sugar.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
You think they'll have it in like that match with Jericho and Orange Cassidy with the pools?
The Mimosa Mayhem match?
Put Black Mountain
Dew.
It'd be pretty good.
I imagine it's going to be some kind of like Firefly Funhouse match, maybe partly in ring, partly tape stuff.
Okay.
Maybe all of his different personas.
Different Mountain Dews.
Bo Dallas.
Like, look, a Mountain Dew Pitch Black match sounds good. But let's be honest, we're all waiting for the Mountain Dew Baja Blast match. When that comes eventually, that's the GOAT. That's the end game of Mountain Dew matches.
It feels weird to attach it with this character, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, The Miz in any kind of commercial plugging match, sure. The Miz is always going to be in a Mountain Dew match.
That should be his gimmick.
Yeah, whereas the Bray Wyatt character, feels very odd.
Maybe he just really likes Mountain Dew, which apparently is a black grape flavor.
All right. Sounds good.
Well, I mean, those are some things that happened in 2022. We have a whole list we're going to jump into. I will quickly say, you want to hear more of us, we do have lots of other podcasts. Cheap plugs here. Patreon.com/Poisonrana. For $5 a month, you can sign up to be a friend. And, well, you get access to almost 500 podcasts, including all the stuff we've done. Retro NXT reviews, pay-per-view reviews, movie reviews. But we have some big shows coming up on the Patreon in the next few weeks, including this week with part 1 of Best Match Ever 2022, followed by part 2. So we're going to go down the top 10 matches and review them in full and nerd out and rate, review, and all that stuff and find out what is the best of 2022.
It might be one of our most varied lists ever this year.
Yeah.
I think loads of different types of matches from different promotions and there may have even been one that just happened sliding in right at the last minute that we watched last night.
Oh, man. We watched the Stardom match.
Yeah.
Suri and Julia. That was
phenomenal.
Was awesome.
Yeah.
That match was crazy, man. There were some nutso spots in that. Yeah. So go check us out on Patreon. It's only $5. You get access to all these shows. We also have our Home Alone 2 review out there as well. We're going to have a Best Match Ever Great Muta down the line. And I think we're going to do a review of Battle Royale in January as
yeah,
well.
we're having a Japanuary.
Yeah, so
Yes.
looking forward to Wrestle Kingdom. We'll be talking all about that next week on this show. So look forward to that. But yeah, go check us out, guys. It's only $5, and you get access to all these podcasts, and come hang out with us.
So I want to take you back to December 31st, 2021, exactly a year ago. It was my last day in quarantine. And they announced on that day, we're moving it from 10 days quarantine to 5 days. So I had my last minute New Year's freedom that day.
Right.
And I remember I went for a walk and I was like, oh, I get fresh air again. I went to buy some comics. And then Tony Khan sends out a tweet. And, well, there was an interview with Big Swole in Fightful where she kind of commented on the lack of diversity in AEW. And, well, I think this tweet kicked off, and I'm counting it for this year because, you know, it was 2022 in the UK,
right.
Australia, other parts of the world. This came at, 7:30 p.m., I think, as he was on the claws and maybe some other stuff. And TK tweeted out, the top 2 AEW execs are Brown, me and Mega. Jade, Bowens, Caster, Dante, Nyla, Isaiah, and Mark Quinn all won on TV this month. The TBS title tournament has been very diverse. I let Swole's contract expire as I felt her wrestling wasn't good enough. Hashtag AEW Rampage. Street fight tonight!
Street fight tonight!
And I think this tweet kicked off what was a fucking crazy 2022.
Yeah, street fight tonight, he meant the whole year. It was going to be a street fight tonight.
Leah Rush saw it, retired.
Oh my god. He's been back since.
Yeah.
And retired since. But yeah, wow.
Britt Baker just liking it, like egging them. Go on, Tony, post it. I'll like it for you. Bad look to start off the year.
Yeah, were these employees at the holiday party all like hanging out and like decide to do this? I love how Big Swole says some fighting words here about, you know, AEW and what she says is a lack of diversity, and TK basically goes, AEW is black, y'all, and then
it is kind of. I'm not racist. I got a friend who's black. It came across that way, and I think if he doesn't think her wrestling's good enough, I think that's a fair reason. I don't think it's particularly classy to like say that publicly.
Yeah.
There's no need for that.
It was like again, we all wrestling drama is sometimes more fun than actual wrestling because we love all the dirt talking and shit, all this stuff. We love it. We're fiends for it. Don't disagree. We're all in this. We all listen to the same shit. We're all into this stuff. So when he said, yo, Swole's wrestling shit, it's like, wow, what a dickhead thing to do, but pretty funny, but really dickhead thing to do. And I think look, looking forward, like maybe he took this tweet from Swole and some criticism from a lot of viewers that, hey, maybe there is a lack of diversity in AEW, all white wrestling. Like a lot of people have had that criticism in 2021, 2020 and stuff. So I'd say that maybe he worked on that. Maybe he decided, like, you know what, maybe I can't just have posters with all my white stars on it and can't just have a show with every single person on the card white. Maybe that does need to change. So maybe in the weirdest possibly way, this helped that. I mean,
yeah, you have seen this year definitely, and I think quite often it's a testament when you see like a say Swerve in Our Glory versus the Acclaimed, and it's not until quite a way after that I'm like, oh yeah, there was 4 people of color in that match. That's pretty cool. And it becomes natural and doesn't feel like we're putting people here to fill quotas.
Right.
Like it definitely feels a lot of these characters, the Acclaimed, Swerve in Our Glory especially, got like really fleshed out and had a hell of a year. Scorpio Sky had a bit of a run at the beginning of the year. I do think AEW has stepped up on that front.
Yeah.
The women still that division does need work. I don't think it's a case of just booking more women's matches on shows. I need a bit of a purpose. You can't just be, to me, oh, Madison Rain is now friends with Sky Blue out of nowhere. Like I do need a bit more than that, and it's going to take time. But I will say maybe you're right. Maybe this did kind of kick things up for 2022.
Because look, it also sparked conversations online and fans everywhere, because some people were like, well, like, actually, I feel like there isn't a lack of diversity because I'm of my background is Mexican and I watch the Lucha Brothers and I love, like, the reason I love watching. So many people were replying to these tweets. Like, if you went through them, it's like there was arguments on both sides. I was definitely in the camp about a year ago that I would say AEW felt like there was a lot of white stars.
Yep.
If you watch NXT and WWE products, they have so many people from all over the world, and I love that. So AEW, I think, has stepped up. When you watch AEW, you see not just, bunch of white dudes. Okay? Like, maybe we have moved in a right direction.
I think as well, though, I think a whole lot of this year, Tony Khan with the media is something that he needs to work on in 2023.
He needs media training.
You think here, pretty much, it's an article from Fightful, and Swole's been asked a question which she's answering honestly from her perspective, and he kind of goes out here and makes this comment which isn't needed. And then fast forward, there are a lot of times, say the Ariel Helwani interview, where he's not answering anything, and it's like, okay, you need to find a middle ground. Like, you're very willing to speak up here, but not willing to speak up when Punk is trashing your entire company.
Yeah.
It's definitely, you'd never see anyone in WWE doing this kind of stuff.
No,
you wouldn't see a Triple H just
I
doing
think
this in interviews.
I think Tony Khan is great, and he's made a great, alternative to what wrestling is and has been for the past 20 years. He finally is someone who stepped up and taken GM mode in real life. You know what I mean? Like, it's incredible. But from this year, especially, just as a fan, you could say that maybe some changes need to happen, whether it's how he does come across and how he is in interviews. If he's gonna talk and tweet like that and then put his tail between his legs when it actually matters, then, like, no, you need to change that. You watched him in that Punk promo at Brawl Out, where he just sat there when Punk, like, berated his whole camp essentially here. So it was interesting that he just kind of sat by and let that happen. But, like, what's the guy to do? He's not like a Vince McMahon who's jacked and goes to the gym every morning at 4 a.m. and shits excellence and has giant grapefruits. I don't know.
Picking on the women instead.
It's just like, I'm not saying he needs to, like, grow some balls. He has done some things that I think he does have balls. You know what I mean? But I think that he, maybe the way he is, especially
does he have massive
balls? We'll talk about the holiday show. We're at Ms. Chance, but yeah, I think maybe some media training or sometimes the way he comes across could change, possibly for the better.
Well, something else that happened this year was Shibata's in-ring return. January 4th at the Tokyo Dome last year was meant to have, like, a kind of exhibition match with Ren Narita, and which was going to be, no strikes allowed and just kind of grappling. We saw him do something similar with Zack, and then he, by all accounts, kind of shoot off the cuff, gets a mic and is like, nah, fuck it, we're going to hit each other.
Oh, boy.
Hasn't wrestled in New Japan since. Did have a match on AEW, which was against Orange Cassidy, and again, people were like, oh, maybe it's Orange, you're just going to do a bunch of comedy stuff. No, he got dropped on the head a couple of times. But yeah, Shibata, obviously, like almost died from his injury with Okada, like, crazy injury. But yeah, coming back to the ring, and just has he had the Tom Lawler match now?
I guess
he must have just had it,
yeah.
I guess.
But that was not New Japan. That's not New Japan.
Again, not New Japan, though.
Yeah, I mean, highly unlikely for 2023. Does he wrestle in New Japan? Like, he could wrestle somewhere else again, but I don't know. It's
I'm thinking no for New Japan.
Because maybe
we'll see him in AEW again, yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy that happened at Wrestle Kingdom when he comes out and then he's like, nah, I want to have an actual match. And then got everyone's hopes up again, and then we kind of didn't see him for a long time. Seeing him in AEW against Orange Cassidy with Mike Tyson on commentary was definite highlight of the year with stuff.
I forgot there. Tyson was on that.
Insane that Mike Tyson's like, he's a bad motherfucker. Like, there's some funny stuff. But yeah, Shibata wrestling in 2023 is something I would love to see because, like, willing he's okay to do this and he's not just like, I'll just do it. Like, no, make sure you're all right. But, like, dream matches instantly. Like, do it while we can before we cannot do this. Danielson, Shibata.
For sure.
Shibata versus, like, Hangman, if we're going back to AEW. Shibata, Moxley. Shibata literally half that roster, but Shibata, like, coming back and having one more match with Okada would also be, like, this crazy dream setup if, you know, he wants his revenge or something, and then loses again.
We haven't seen him in, like, do a main event level thing.
Yeah.
Like, there was the match against Orange, there were bumps and stuff, but it wasn't going full, like, you know, forearms to the head and headbutts and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I wonder what's in him. I'm sure he'd love to wrestle like a Okada level match, but yeah, it feels weird. I do feel maybe he kind of pissed off the office there in New Japan. The fact we haven't seen him wrestle there at all since then, but he's clearly wanting to do it, picking up these other matches elsewhere. I think it's quite telling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, something else. Back in January, this is only the beginning of the year, guys. Shane McMahon comes out at the Royal Rumble.
Here comes the money.
27th, 28th? Apparently was meant to be Randy Orton's spot. He's like, no, I'm 28. He's like, well, your music's playing. I ain't going out to yours, Shane. So Shane runs out, already blown up. He has the kind of monster spot. He's eliminating Owens and Riddle and everyone.
And he's sweating like Val Kilmer and Tombstone.
Apparently was a bit of a nightmare booking this match and kind of wanted to book himself as this superstar. And then mere days later gets released. His own daddy releases him from the company, which kind of, I don't know, feeds into this other narrative that happens for the rest of the year. But yeah, what a weird appearance and release for Shane.
I know you're a big Shane McMahon fan. Everyone can go back to our best match ever, Shane McMahon. We did for when he came back for the show, when he retired,
when he
got released. We did that show and we looked back at all his best matches. You have a Shane O'Mac jersey. You're the biggest Shane McMahon fan. But it was weird how he was booked in that Royal Rumble match, that he was the one throwing out these stars that were, like, at the time in big stories and big characters. That was like, that was kind of weird that Shane was the one to do that. And then all of a sudden
you're gonna start building up Kevin Owens against Stone Cold Steve Austin,
and Shane McMahon's
eliminating him
for no reason, who hasn't been on TV and it's weird. So then him being released, it's like, okay, there's stories, okay, something happened backstage where he was, like, I don't know, power tripping is what it kind of seemed. But then you look at the year of Vince McMahon and stuff, like we said, it's very suspicious that he's just gone. So it's like, we don't know what people knew or what people did or people said, and involving all the Vince stuff. So we'll just lay it is where it lays, like, essentially. So it's just weird that we saw for a brief second in 2022 Shane O'Mac wrestling in a Royal Rumble.
Well, he's someone who's left the company before for a long time and went off and did his own businesses and stuff. And then, it was 5-6 years he was away from the company, then came back for the Dallas Mania 32. He's someone we haven't heard of at all since his release. Obviously, some other people have left and come back. Do you ever see Shane in a post-Vince McMahon WWE?
Yeah, I mean, Triple H isn't ever going to wrestle again, but that would be the obvious storyline if you're me. Next year, you book Triple H versus Shane in a match, and the winner.
Shane's storyline coming back for the company.
Yeah. If I beat you, I get the company. But Triple H can't wrestle anymore, so you can't really do that.
Well, I think as the year closes, we finally know what was in that lockbox.
We'll one day find out.
I think we know. I think Shane might have sent the lockbox to a certain Wall Street Journal.
What? Yeah. What's in this lockbox? I don't know. It's just had a bunch of random phone numbers to different tanning salons all over the world. I don't know what these were. Yeah. Shane versus Cody for stake of WWE.
In, like, some crazy hardcore match.
And Triple H is in Cody's
Cody
corner.
would be on fire again. Like that was this year, wasn't it? Cody Andrade?
Cody was on fire.
Yeah. Cody Shane is a match I'd want to see.
Cody Shane, sure. I think Shane will come back to WWE.
This in 2023? Or later?
Not necessarily this year. Again, we don't need that. So
do we not? Hey, Raw needs some stars right now.
And Shane's the fixer.
Shane's the draw.
Shane would be, because people are like, well, he's Vince's son, so maybe he'll say something.
Royal Rumble. He should come out to Randy's music.
Oh my god. Yeah, that'd be great.
And then on like a kind of sadder note, March 11th, there was a match between the New Day and the Brawling Brutes where Big E took a belly-to-belly suplex from Ridge Holland on the floor and legitimately broke his neck. And this guy's been out ever since. We don't know if he's ever gonna wrestle again
at this point. Yeah, we don't know.
But like the power of positivity, that is clearly not just a gimmick with the New Day, because he was so quick to put out social media from the hospital in his neck brace and everything, just kind of trying to reassure people. Like, it's awful what he must be going through, not knowing if you're even gonna fully be able to move again and that kind of stuff. But every time he's kind of put something out there, this beacon of positivity.
Yeah. No, it's very sad that this happened, and you, as a fan, we only just assume, he'll be back after a few months. Like, no, this guy broke his neck, so like this is some serious stuff. So all the good vibes to Big E's way, because if he could return, like, that would be a big deal for a lot of people, and I think that would be pretty great for him to
hell of a story for him to come back as well. And I think you could potentially do the title run with him, right? Like, it always felt weird that was 2021, right? His reign,
I guess.
It always felt a bit weird, just him winning with a cash in as a babyface. Didn't quite have the run I think he should have, and I think that whole kind of coming back from injury and winning one of the titles would be huge.
Again, I have I'm not like every other fan, like crossing our fingers for him to return to the ring one day. I'm sure that's something he's aiming for, but just in the off that, like, he maybe cannot do that. He's got such a big personality that I think he will. I think a wild card of Hollywood, it could be something he's very funny.
Presenting,
so, like
that kind of thing.
Like, again, I want to see him back in wrestling, just being the definite, like, devil's advocate here. He's good at everything else he does. So
we've seen in the past, I totally, if he has to retire, I totally find WWE
take care
finding a role for him somehow, absolutely. Whether it's commentary, whether it's like just like a manager kind of role. I mean, he's huge to be a manager, but I think he'll land on his feet. But
get well soon.
Real sad one. Like, that's way back in March. So
get well soon, Big E.
We hope he's getting there.
Come on, Big E.
Now, a big topic. Cody Rhodes returns to WWE. Wow. He's holding the TNT title without a contract in AEW. He cuts a bizarre promo where he's building all these angles.
What do you guys want to talk about?
He starts building angles like Ricky Starks and all these other people that he's not going to have matches with anytime soon.
No.
And then appears one of the biggest moments of the year, coming out the Cody Vader against Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, which is one of my favorite moments.
Absolutely. Look, big fan of Cody before AEW, big fan of Cody in AEW. By the end of his AEW run, it seemed he was the heel. We would spend shows debating, like, is he a heel? Is he supposed to be a heel? He's Homelander from The Boys, right? Like, he's the delusion. He's the good guy, but he's secretly the bad guy. Is basically, well, not so secretly, but like, and him now months later has tweeted out little things like, "Oh, I was playing a heel. I was a heel. I was doing that to be a heel." And it's like, sure you were. You're saying that, and we still don't know, blurring the lines of.
It was almost like being a bit too smart for his own good.
Right.
At some times, like, we could see what he was doing, but then again, at times it's like, is it for the betterment of the match? Because now am I watching a match and just don't really, like, I wouldn't say it enhanced his feud with Malachi Black at all.
So he cuts this promo saying, "I'm not going to turn heel in AEW," and says, like, that would be the easy way out. Well, no, the easy way out is fucking leaving and going to WWE, which he did. So part of me, like, if he were to just do the classic, beat the shit out of Arn Anderson. Remember, we were all waiting for that. It never happened. Where's Arn? Where's Arn since that? He's just gone.
He's
hanging out with
still
Brock,
there. Yeah,
with his gun. So Cody should have beat the shit out of him, and then would have got like huge boos, and would have been the heel character. And then all you needed to do was, that thing about me and the world title. Yeah,
bullshit.
I'm going for the world title.
Yeah.
Sorry, and then win the world title. Like, he'd be the most over heel, and I think that was the plan eventually. Like, that was the end game of that whole thing. But instead, the crowd turned on him before he could turn on us, and maybe he didn't like that, and he wanted to be the John Cena guy who's just never going to turn heel. Is how he made it sound in his promos, right? So then to just literally take his ball and go home to the Fed, New York.
I mean, I think, I don't blame the guy at all. I find it interesting with what happens with Punk later in the year. You wonder if, I don't know if the fan reaction would have been a factor for him. But I think definitely a bucket list of his is to be WWE champion. I think that's legit. I think you saw him know his potential way back in, 2015, 2016, when he left the company. He knew he was bigger than, Stardust, and went out and he killed it on the indies. He created this company, helped create this company. And then, it's my job here is done. I've elevated myself. It's something I can, I'm hoping to see Sasha Banks do. Make yourself an even bigger name. So when you come back, you're to steal his word, undeniable.
Do the work.
And he's come back as a huge star. He will be WWE champion in this company, which I don't think he would have been if he just floated around staying in the company.
Yeah.
I think he created something good outside of WWE. As I said, helped create something good, but he's a huge factor. Would the original All In have happened without Cody Rhodes?
Right.
Maybe not.
Exactly.
I don't think so.
Exactly. And then All In led to...
So I'm not going to shit on the guy for leaving. I think he picked his timing perfectly. He'd done everything there really was for him to do if he wasn't going to go for the title. I think there were so many matches on the table that we never had, a Hangman match or a Kennedy match or a Punk match or stuff like that. There was a lot of stuff I'm like, man, that could have been cool. But I think ultimately he's at the right place for him. Had a killer match before leaving with Sammy, I thought.
That ladder match.
That could have been
awesome.
It feels so long ago, and Cody AEW feels like it wasn't even this year now at this point. But he's had a hell of a year, and people are going to talk about the Briscoes FTR trilogy, but the Seth Rollins Cody trilogy this year was awesome, I thought.
Yeah, I think I liked the WrestleMania one, just because, look, we all knew this was happening. Seth Rollins was feuding with himself. So was Kevin Owens. But Seth Rollins is feuding with himself, but we knew it had to be Cody. There was no other option for it to be. And then finally coming out with Downstate Kingdom, man.
The American Nightmare logo, full.
Yeah.
It was full AEW. That was a huge moment of the year.
Yeah.
Just as a statement, we're not changing his name. He's not coming as Stardust. We're not giving him new WWE music. No. He's coming in as the AEW character of Cody.
He will be world champion eventually, but can't wait to see, because so far he's brought some really good stuff. The injury, unfortunately, we'll see where 2023 lays with him, maybe winning a Rumble or being in Mania or winning the title or something like that, but he will win it one day. But the wrestling and this character fits so well in WWE.
I think Raw needs him as well. I think you'll see a lot of interest again in Raw once Cody's back.
And he's in AEW it seemed like a lot of people didn't like him, but because he was doing the I'm a good guy but really he's a bad guy. But in WWE he'll be eventually a heel as well, and he'll knock it out the park when it goes to that route. But great year, great moment of him coming out at WrestleMania. That is definitely one of the highlights of this year.
What's crazy as well is I think that moment is bigger than the next moment. As far as talking points this year, any other year, Stone Cold Steve Austin returning to wrestling would be the biggest story.
Right.
Stone Cold returning, main event of WrestleMania, his first match in 19 years in his home state of Texas.
Yep.
That's huge.
What?
I'd say all the Cody stuff was bigger than that. But Stone Cold wrestles again.
How crazy is this? This isn't even the top things of the craziest things that happened this year. Because to maybe just a casual fan, this is probably a big moment because you probably heard about it and maybe checked it out. But yeah, it's crazy that this happened, and so much other stuff has happened that we're like, wow, that's just, oh yeah, that did happen.
If it was a 2-part show, like Steve Austin might be in part 1, you know,
right.
moments 10 through to 6, which is nuts.
Yeah. So Stone Cold comes back, and Kevin Owens has a feud with himself and says, hey, I want you to show up on my talk show. Again, we know wrestling. He's going to show up, and they're going to fight. We all assumed that. WWE kind of stealing AEW said they're going to do CM Punk coming back without telling us. So let's do that. Let's just
We knew Austin would be there, but
yeah.
it's like they promised physicality, but didn't promise a match.
So then Austin shows up wearing his knee braces in his shorts, and we're like, okay, well, he's probably wrestling. And, well, then it starts and turns into a match. And it's pretty fun. I've watched it back now. I've watched it twice now since watching it live, right? And then, like, it's so much fun. It's not, it's not the match of the year, but Austin looks good. Owens looks good.
He takes suplex on the floor.
Yeah, like, it was so much fun to just watch. The one negative, I wish Jim Ross was calling it, because that would definitely make it even, like, crazy or special, but...
The things I want, and if there are talks of him coming back, maybe for another match, that maybe he did get the bug... There's a couple of things that I'm like, man, that was fun, but I needed a Luthez press.
Okay.
It was lacking that. The stomps in the corner, he was milking with the crowd and was doing these slow stomps, but that's not the Austin stomp. I want the stomp in the mud hole. Didn't quite get that. And there's a point where he comes out, he's in his like Austin 316 shirt, the knee braces, the jorts, and he goes to the back. And I was like, oh, is he going to come back in his black trunks? I think he's still in good shape. I want to see Austin in black trunks. It's a weird thing in wrestling, but I'm like, no,
take your shirt off,
I need
man.
you. Yeah, take your shirt off, dude.
He looked great.
He did look great. I thought Owens was like the perfect opponent for him.
Yeah.
Someone who can just build up a feud on his own, talking. There are the similarities there, being the kind of like, sort of working class guy who runs his mouth a lot. They both have a stunner, obviously. But yeah, I thought it was fun, and it was a huge moment. Do you think Austin will wrestle again?
Yeah, Austin Cena, WrestleMania, book it.
I think, both wear jorts, book it.
Book it. Just book it, Trips.
I think so.
You got one time to do it, and it's now. So it's 2 nights. So you do that one night.
Yeah,
bro, you're selling that out, no problem.
Yeah,
so
I think that's what I'd go
like
with.
No Rock, no problem. If you have Austin and Cena both on that show, either even if they're not fighting and they're on separate matches, like you're getting business.
Finally, do Austin Hogan.
Finally, do Austin Hogan
in 2023.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, I think a lot of people are often like, we want these old timers should be elevating these.
Yeah.
Young, but also you want a marquee match. Like, do it if you can. We never got that Sting Undertaker match when they were both in the company. If you have them both available, fucking book it. It doesn't matter how it looks. Like, I'm not expecting Okada Omega. I'm expecting a lot look into the crowd, great atmosphere, great entrances, some stomps, some stunners, some AAs.
Maybe call me crazy, but hot take. WWE has gotten better for me because now I know there couldn't possibly be 2 wrestlers that put on a worse match than Goldberg and The Undertaker. And that's why I'm like, well, it's not going to be as bad as that.
As like a quote-unquote dream match, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, you're
like
going to
throw
any two legends out there. Will it be better than that match? Probably.
If you book that one,
so
why not book this one? We're not worried about how things look anymore. If you I see what you mean.
So, like, really. And the same goes with Vince McMahon and Pat McAfee on the same WrestleMania, right? Like, it was so bizarre and such a shit match and Vince just looked terrible taking that. Probably one of the worst stunners of all time.
I think Cena especially has always been, because Cena's moveset has always been fairly limited, but he's always been very good, like a Hogan, in how do I get the reactions from the crowd? Can I get like maximum effect out of minimum, if you know what I mean? And therefore I think they would actually be a pretty smart match. I thought Cena's SummerSlam match against Roman was better than the Backlash one they had first. Like, I'm not saying it's a 5-star technical classic, but like the crowd engagement and picking your spots and that kind of thing. I think it would work.
Yeah. But yeah, Stone Cold's back. Tell your friends about it. But yeah, it's crazy that he wrestled, had a big, huge moment, and I will imagine we see him again in 2023.
Well, that was April. We skip forward to May 16th, 2022, when Sasha Banks and Naomi walk out.
Wow.
They're meant to be in, what was it, like a 5-way number 1 contenders match, I think. And they were like, we've just won the tag titles. Why are we not elevating these tag titles? Left the titles on Johnny Ace's desk and left. And had Michael Cole had the hard job of saying they were unceremoniously left, or whatever, unprofessional, and all of that stuff. Really kind of buried them on TV.
Yeah.
And I really didn't think it would be going on this long, that we haven't really heard much. We've seen them go out to red carpets and other TV shows and stuff like that. And Sasha's obviously now got this January 4th Tokyo Dome.
We're recording this on the December 31st. I mean, by this time this week, she could already be on another program or whatever. But her walking out, people reporting this, and then saying is this real? And then seeing Michael Cole do that again. Vince was still there, so that was a Vince thing where they just shit on them, being like they're unprofessional. Odd that Michael Cole didn't say the same thing when Vince McMahon left, but Sasha Banks is a big star. Naomi, since being in the tag team, instantly was working and elevating her and getting and it was just good. And they're right, they just won the tag titles. Why do we even have these titles if they're just nothing anyways? And then we don't see them for so long. When Sasha does return, whether it be New Japan, AEW, or anywhere else, it will, like you said, like when Cody went elsewhere, it'll raise her and make her a big star. Other people are going to see her. And then eventually I do see her going back, especially if WWE's run by Triple H. She will eventually be back one day in WWE. But there's so much opportunities right now for her to be the wrestling side of it, right? Do the route where you go and, wrestle Shuri, Julia, all these other people. So do it. Why not?
I think Sasha saw those tag titles as almost a project.
Yeah.
Right from the beginning when she was with Bayley, and that's why they were mad the first time when dropping it to Iconics. You see with Walter how he's elevated the IC title. And I kind of see how maybe Sasha wanted that to be with the tag titles.
Right.
Okay, you're not going to have me as one of your singles.
Yeah.
Let's make these tag belts as important as that. Which you can see in AEW at times, the tag titles are one of the most important titles there.
Sure.
So for it to be treated that way, I can totally understand. And it's I'm sure people are like, oh, they walked out because of the booking with that. It's the straw that broke the camel's back after all these kind of things.
She's definitely made references to not being happy for different things. So this definitely was finally you know what? Don't need this.
And Naomi sticking by her this whole time. I think she's someone who's interesting to see. Does she go back? I see her back to WWE before Sasha.
Yeah.
But interesting. We haven't really heard much
Bloodline
at all about Naomi. I mean, that's the obvious one. Yeah.
Yeah. You think you're Naomi.
You think you're Naomi.
I think Sasha going elsewhere, though, for now, will be great for us, the fans, to watch her wrestle.
And then pretty much a week later, on May 28th, MJF was booked for a fan expo, a meet and greet thing, Double or Nothing weekend, and no shows.
Ooh.
And apparently books a flight home and has been trying to get a raise.
Is he on the plane? Is he getting off the plane?
I got off the plane!
As all of us said a million times when that happened. But who knew the year that this would set off? Is this real? Is this kayfabe? Is this what is this? What a year we were in for covering that conversation. We all have that conversation with our wrestling friends. It's a work. No, it's not. It's real. It's a shoot. No, it's a work. You could say that for a lot of
it becomes a work.
Yeah, you work yourself into a shoot, or vice versa, brother. So MJF basically no shows this. You could say hey, that's a work because he's the asshole character. But again, paying fans on autographs and stuff, like, yeah, you would probably want to make your money. But then he shows up at that show and does the airplane like pose in the ring in his entrance, and then basically tells everyone to fuck off.
Opens the show.
Yeah.
Gets murdered by Wardlow.
Minutes. Seconds.
And disappears, has the promo the next night, not really selling any injuries, and calls TK a fucking mark. And we don't see him for months.
What a promo that was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think he is someone who is worth the money, and if he was still on this kind of rookie agreement, and he's doing, main events with CM Punk, you can understand the guy wanting his payday, but also, is that the most professional way to go about it? No. And I'd say Wardlow still hasn't quite recovered from it.
It hurt
in
Wardlow,
what was a great feud that was built for a long time and should have been his crowning moment. No one was talking about it after the show. No one was talking about it with the Dynamite after in that promo, which did hurt him.
Does that mean like MJF was being like selfish and like, well, I'm fucking killing it, I'm getting huge ratings in the storylines? Because the storyline with Punk got big views, and I imagine people ordered that pay-per-view to see that match. So like he's right in that regard. In 2022, his stock went way up real quick with the CM Punk feud, and yeah, maybe he was fed up by this. Maybe we all are being worked in this whole 2024 thing. But like, if he were to go to WWE, he would be an absolute star, and I think he knows that. He has put in the time and betted on himself. Literally, the catchphrases and all that Cody shit. But like, MJF is someone who has done that, and look, now he's in movies and stuff. Like, this guy is gonna be a big deal, and it's up to Tony Khan to open up the checkbook to make sure he makes him a big deal for his company. I know it's a
WWE Vince term, but it's that kind of dichotomy with grabbing the brass ring. It's like, okay, well, what does that mean? Because like, WWE, it's a lot of time, well, creatively you're giving me shit, so how am I supposed to grab that brass ring? Doing something like this is grabbing that brass ring, in my opinion. Yeah. It's knowing your worth, and you're like, all right, well, see how you are without me. Sasha and Naomi walking essentially is that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's trying to grab that brass ring. It's like nothing's getting through. What do I do? And has MJF become a bigger star since doing that? Yes. Is he making more money? Yes. So it worked for him.
Yeah. And again, you could look at it different ways. Like, well, he's going into business for himself. Well, he wants money and he's a star. But at the same time, like, it shows that he is someone everyone's interested in, and has been bringing this like aura of old school pro wrestling in a modern day age, and really sticking with his gimmick of just being this guy. Like, he is the character in wrestling right now. Like even if you talk to a million different people who don't watch AEW, like, this character is a must-watch character, and he has blended the world of real life and wrestling together like no one else has, in my opinion, in a very, very long time.
And we'll be getting into Brawl Out in a bit, but what I find funny is the two, as I said, the Sasha Naomi and the MJF thing happened within like 10 days of each other.
Yeah.
Punk tweets out after the Sasha Naomi thing about, sticking up for your co-workers and basically in support of Sasha Naomi.
Yeah, stick up for your co-workers.
And by all accounts, I don't believe there's any backstage animosity between MJF and Punk, but storyline-wise in front of the TV, there's been all that stuff, and MJF's walking right after. And it's like, interesting. And then we get into the Hangman promo a bit later. That
stick up for your coworkers, guys.
Yeah,
always stick up for your coworkers.
Yeah. Well, let's move on, because Mr. Jeffrey Hardy had a hell of a year.
Hardy.
At the end of 2021, he got released by WWE for being intoxicated. He walked out at a house show and just like left through the crowd and was taking pictures and was just acting all a bit like he might be a little drunk or on something. Got released. Then the tests came back and showed that he wasn't drunk. He denied being drunk, and WWE offered him Hall of Fame and to kind of come back to the company. And he went, nah. And then he showed up to save his brother from an attack from the Andrade family office.
But you know, before you save your brother from an attack from the Andrade family office, you gotta duke. You gotta put him up. I had to throw him up, brother.
Came in, had a few tag matches, jumped off shit. He fought Davie in a insane match that I completely forgot happened this
insane.
year.
I do not forget that match. That was insane.
It's a crazy match. Had the match against the Young Bucks.
They had a few matches. Jeff was jumping off stuff every week.
Yeah. Then they had that awful tables match. Oh, that was one I should have remembered for worst of the year, against Butcher of the Blade, where the wrestlers, the referee, and the commentary team weren't on the same page with what the fucking rules are in this match, and it was just a complete mess.
Yeah.
And then gets another DUI and
is taken off TV.
And we haven't seen him since, or really heard many updates at all.
Yeah,
from Jeff.
Yeah, very, very sad. I mean, look, Jeff Hardy, it was one of my favorites growing up when I got into wrestling. Hardy Boys is my shit. And when he finally became WWE champion and then eventually left WWE, and then a lot more problems started for him outside of WWE with his TNA run and stuff like that, as we all know. Like, as a fan, I was like, man, you're letting people down for sure. And then he's had a comeback story time and time again, and you like hope for the best for this guy. But then he keeps having instances where this keeps happening. Look, I'm someone who loves going out, having a few pops with the boys. I'm not a wrestler who's on TV week by week, and somehow I still manage to get home without drinking and driving. I use Uber.
We walked in the rain last night.
I walk home in the rain. I take cabs. You know, sometimes, Uber's surge prices. Yeah, well, it's better than driving when you're intoxicated. Yeah. And it seems that that's such a common thing in wrestling with different wrestlers over the years. And you would think in today's age, like, why are you still doing this? And that's something that definitely pisses me off. As a fan, huge fan of Jeff Hardy. But if this is the actual wake-up call, if this is the final, like, hey, look, you're doing great things now. The Hardy Boys in AEW, why are you fucking this up? Maybe there is a chance he comes back and we can kind of go back to it. But
how many wake-up calls do you need, though? Like,
as of right now, Jeff Hardy in 2023 is definitely not something we need to see. I have a feeling we might see him back again sooner or later, but I just hope that we don't talk about this year about how he's got another one or another problem or something worse. So yeah,
it's just a real shame. Like the Hardy Boys stuff was fun in AEW.
Absolutely.
You want a kind of, it feels like they keep on trying to write a final chapter for the Hardy Boys. They come back to WWE. They come home to WWE at WrestleMania. Huge reaction in Orlando. Win the tag titles pretty much immediately. Have a bit of a nothing run. Fade away into I think they split them into singles again, didn't they? And then the AEW stuff. They're like, all right, let's just get to the Young Bucks match. Let's get to these matches. Get to Jeff Darby. Get him out the way. I'm glad they did because it was 2-3 month spell. But I don't think being around wrestling is gonna help him not drink.
Right.
Being on the road and stuff.
Sure.
Whereas being at his family maybe be better. So it would be nice to finally have that proper conclusion, but at this point, we've seen this for years now, just happen over and over again.
Yeah. Again, wishing him the best. I always have been a big fan of the Hardy Boys and Jeff Hardy, and want to see him do the right thing.
Well, I think we've talked about the next one quite a lot, but we can't do a year in review show without talking about Vince McMahon resigning. Just decided to retire at the age of almost 77.
I find
I'm
today
done.
today is the day
Today's the day I'm retire.
I woke up, I stared at my big Tyrannosaurus Rex skull, and I thought, I'm done.
I don't need to do this anymore.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know. I'm just done.
Yeah.
Together forever, always. Fuck them.
I've got the tweet up here. At 77, time for me to retire. Thank you, WWE Universe. Then, now, forever together. Hashtag WWE. Hashtag thankful.
Hashtag thankful.
Hashtag fuck 'em.
Fuck 'em.
Fuck 'em.
Oh man, yeah. Vince McMahon stepping down from WWE, which would just be the beginning of the shitstorm to come of all the other stuff.
So I believe June 15th was the first Wall Street Journal article saying about the WWE investigating Vince McMahon. They brought in the independent people, which means this has been going on for a couple of months before this came out. And then June 17th, he stepped down as chairman. That's when he appeared on SmackDown, so he temporarily stepped down. I think Stephanie then came back in, who it looked like she was getting pushed out. And in that interview with Pat McAfee, like Vince saying, I'm often not quite happy with my kids, essentially, I think they can do more. And then her being pushed out and then suddenly coming back in the sort of like Shiv Roy role, just taking over the company while he's sort of just chilling for a bit. Appears on SmackDown, does that weird then now together, forever together, fuck 'em. And then July 8th comes out that hush money of $12 million have been found. Then July 22nd, Triple H becomes the EVP of Talent Relations. Again, Triple H had left the company pretty much by this point. And Vince puts out the retirement tweet.
Wow.
So all this, just a mere matter of weeks, all this happened. End of a 30-year era, or more so.
What would you do with $12 million? I'd be on a beach and never see me again. But I found it was an odd...
I feel it's an expensive blowjob.
That was
like,
one of the most expensive ones, definitely. Like, not quite Bill Clinton levels, but, it's up there. Just crazy. Definitely, this story has been beaten to death, everyone talking about it, but looking back, we all know Vince McMahon stories the second you become a wrestling fan. Watching angles that things he's said on camera, on TV over the years that would get any single person canceled hasn't touched him. He's the bullets just bounce off him. But this year, they're finally sticking in, and it's finally taking him down. And it seems like there'll be more stories to eventually come out and stuff like that. But I'm, as a wrestling fan, it needed to happen eventually. Not just because all of this awful stuff that this guy has done and has, hush money this and allegations left and right, but for the past 10 years, his show has not been the show that has the way we all loved wrestling. And I'm comparing the actual entertainment aspect of it when there was real stuff happening behind the line, behind the scenes and stuff. But this needed to happen a long time ago.
It's a shame such an awful it's a shame something good. No, it's a shame it took something awful to make something good, is what I'm trying to say. But we have seen everything's improved, both financially, the stock's gone up, the quality. Raw still isn't quite there yet, but there are things we went to the live show yesterday. Street Profits and American Alpha, I think, have been American Alpha Academy have been fantastic. Once Cody's back, I think Raw will step up. SmackDown, just Gunther and the Bloodline alone is enough to carry SmackDown. NXT's got so much better the last few months. Everything has improved. Raw, even when it's shit, is still kind of better than it was, I'd say. So everything's improved because of this coming out.
Yeah, absolutely. And it will continue to get better. And, the day Vince McMahon is definitely gone from wrestling, completely talks and stuff, there'll still be stories coming out. There'll still be documentaries being made. There'll still be people talking about it for sure. So it's just crazy that he's finally, quote unquote gone. I mean, part of me still thinks he's texting
double tap, guys. You need to double tap. Yeah. I'm still nervous.
Part of me still thinks he's texting Triple H. All right, so you're putting the title on Theory, right? Well, actually, I think no. You're gonna put the title on Theory, and this is just. And then Triple H goes to the board meeting. All right, so I'm thinking of putting the title on Theory, and everyone's, that's weird. Why do you want to do that? So part of me thinks he's still somewhat involved of trying to get things his way.
I might be on an island, but I do completely see why you would go with Theory.
Sure.
As a long-term investment,
sure.
He's Randy Orton, young Randy Orton for me right now.
Yeah.
And I can see why they'd want to try and go with him.
Yeah.
I think he's in a better spot now, not flirting with the world title, but having a feud with some main eventers over the US title. I think he's in a better spot.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Triple H needs to kind of ignore those texts.
Do we see Johnny Ace show up in like a clusterfuck match or something like that?
Oh God,
on a skateboard.
Damn,
coming down.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, do you see any legal ramifications coming out of
there?
It
could be, right? Like, again, there's so much more coming out about Vince McMahon and allegations and stuff. So yeah, like I definitely think he's done a lot of wrong things, and to take him, look, just because he created wrestling doesn't mean he needs to be associated with the rest of time.
Yeah, he didn't invent pro wrestling.
Yeah, he didn't invent it.
No,
sorry, he didn't. Look,
he just created a style that we've all known as the only thing for so long.
No doubt, he was the king of this shit, the godfather of wrestling. Not like without Hogan, without Austin, all that stuff. Like, yeah, he's the one who orchestrated this whole thing. We needed that. However, at the end of the day, he didn't create it. Like, no. He helped introduce it to me. He helped introduce it to probably most of us, but like, he didn't create all this, and it goes on without him quite fine. You know what I mean? Like, the guy who invented a sport, doesn't. He's not involved anymore.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, the inventor of football's dead.
So like, it's things move on and the world turns. So we're gonna be fine without Vince McMahon. And I'm thinking forward like 5, 10 years, 20 years of wrestling. He'll be. I'm sure they'll have Hall of Fame videos and show how great he was and all this la la la. But he did a lot of bad things too. So, pour one out for Vince McMahon leaving the WWE. Just craziness.
Well, then we go to All Out, September 3rd, September 4th.
Yeah.
And the famous CM Punk press conference.
Yeah, CM Punk wins the AEW title, and then this at the press conference,
unprovoked,
just starts going off while he's eating his Mindy's muffins about Colt Cabana, and Colt Cabana's mom, Colt Cabana's mom's bank account, and then he decides to go off on people he works with.
It was one of those things. I don't care about Colt Cabana. Well, you're talking about Colt Cabana an awful lot for someone that doesn't care about him.
Yeah, he just starts going off about that, and I'm someone who I don't care about Colt Cabana and CM Punk, that thing anymore. That's so long ago. They're like, can we just move on from that? Like, what's even the issue here? What's going on? And for him to kind of bring up those things, it was interesting to say the least, and then to see him right in front of TK, who's just sitting there acting as shocked almost as we are. Maybe not as much because he didn't quite understand it and take it all in as it was happening. But he then rips apart his coworkers, his EVPs. He says that the people managing things here couldn't even manage a target is something he famously said. He also,
which I'm sure is a pretty hard job, managing a target.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have Targets in Canada anymore. It didn't work out. But imagine we're trying to manage a target. It must be hard.
Yeah.
He then says that he's old, he's tired, he's working with children, calls them kids, basically just shits on these people.
Says, when he's shitting on Hangman Page, says someone who hasn't achieved anything in this business. I mean, he was the world champion of this company, so in saying that is kind of burying this whole company as well. And I'm sorry, picking a fight with Hangman, I'm nah, I'm going to side with Hangman on this. Just the way the guy presents himself, you see what he stands for. And you're getting, for someone who's so known for shoot promos, you're getting worked up about a workers' right comment, which went over so many people's heads anyway.
Yeah.
This is the kind of style in wrestling he likes. The amount of times he's brought up backstage dirty laundry in promos and stuff. That's what CM Punk has been about. The pipe bomb, all of that. Yeah. So to get so worked up about it's not like Hangman said, you talk about workers' rights, well, where the fuck is Colt Cabana? It's he brings it up, he puts it out there. It was quite subtle, and to hold that grudge so long, have the match and then have it fester for months, and then come back and immediately call out Hangman, and then just destroy everything in this promo, not promo, press conference.
He just seems so sorry, you're the one who's thrown many stones. You've casted many stones, and what is it? Don't live in a glass house. Like, it's just very weird because he like you said, the pipe bomb, anything. He loves breaking that fourth wall and kind of, getting into things. And I just think back to all the promos with Triple H and WWE. Everything he's ever fired off on camera, on TV to Triple H is like pretty, stuff that would piss someone off to do something like this. Whereas it's weird when you kind of look at it in retrospect, because when he did the promo where he called out Hangman and then sits down and waits for him, he's like, oh, what a coward, he's not here, right? He did that purposely because he was mad.
Yeah.
And then when you get to the all out thing, it's him like just losing it. You expect him to come out and talk about the match and this and that, and maybe say, well, actually, I'm injured again, because that also happened in that match, so maybe that's why he was fired up. He was in pain, I'm sure. But then to just like rip these guys apart. And again, if you're like, it took you a second to realize who he's talking about. You're like, sorry, he's talking about Hangman, the Elite, Kenny. Like, who's he talking about here? What's going on? Is he talking about TK? Because TK's right beside him, not doing anything. Just going, ooh, like cringing over there, not being like, hey, maybe you want to shut the fuck up?
Like, we hear about receipts in wrestling as well, right? So, like, he gave the receipt. Why is he continuing?
You already did that.
You've already, you've got your own back. You made Hangman look like a coward for not coming out. You move on. Like,
it's really weird.
And that's where, I mean, he's such an interesting person. Because really, words were said, a fight broke out. This happens. Like, happens. People, mates, go to the pub, get drunk, and have a little fight, or whatever. They make up. They move on. There's so much good to come out of just getting together and moving on. It's crazy to me that all these guys were sober. None of these guys fucking drink in this fight. I don't know what Ace Steel is on, to be fair, but like the rest of them, they're there sipping their milk and just like, right, let's go.
What's in these 8 Gatorade, like bubble water?
I don't know, man, but I hope they can sort it out. There was the Dax like thing from his podcast saying like, I hope everyone can just get along, and Punk like replying with, well, duh.
Yeah, well, duh.
But people are reading it. It's like, well, yeah, of course it'd be nice if everyone could get along, but that ain't happening. Right. Well, I'm like, well, duh, yeah, I want to get along. Like, you can read that so many different ways.
Because looking back, this year, CM Punk had an incredible year. I loved his return to pro wrestling. It not only was good for AEW, it was just good as a fan. You got to watch this, and he had some great matches, and specifically the great feud of the year with MJF. And you could see where the story was going to go with Punk winning the title, and you could argue, and there's now reports saying Punk wasn't really too keen on being champion, but it made sense. You put him as the champion, and then you put MJF the guy to beat him for it. So like it works out so proper. And then that story didn't finish, so they went different ways, and it's fine the way it went. But CM Punk to then have this great year, but be so irked by certain things, then to come out here on that presser to say all the things he said, to then, which, we do believe has transpired a fight between certain people and dogs and people biting people possibly, like all sorts of stuff, to now not being on TV, not even mentioned, to just not being kind of pretty much radio, aside from little things like that, pretty much radio silent on the situation. 2023 we could potentially see, we're not seeing Punk on Talk Is Jericho, that's for sure. But we're you're gonna see him eventually have to talk about this one day. You can't just if he were to ever return, like I would hope it happens in AEW, because there's money to be made. You need to grow up. You look like such a baby. To me, as a fan, I was so excited to see him come back, because I'm not like, oh, you left us when you left WWE. No, you had your reasons and you walked out, and good for you. But to see that passion ignited in you to come back and like kill it, and then to just throw that away.
It feels like, when sometimes someone who's normally fine has just one bad day at work and they take it too far and they tell the boss to fuck off, and it's like, oh, well, they're fired now. Yeah. And it felt like that. It's just like something irked him, and that one day it's like, I'm gonna destroy everything and fuck this.
Yeah, it's just so weird.
You'd hope like maybe the injury's a blessing, like what they say, like 6 months, so it'll take you through to like March, April, maybe when he's fit again, and that's a lot of time has gone. But yeah.
Because, like, the money match is FTR, Punk, and The Elite. Like,
for sure.
That's the match you instantly throw out there on a pay-per-view, and you know how many fucking people are going to buy that? Like, a lot.
Any of them. Punk versus Kenny. Like, Punk Hangman again. Like, it's...
I do, as a fan, I don't, we don't know these people, but you would hope that they can sort of bring this all together because it makes sense. Because him going to WWE just sounds so messy.
Just come back to a slightly different deal, not being not wrestling on TV every week. You come in, you do your promo to build your match with your one guy you're doing, you wrestle at the pay-per-view or a big Dynamite, and like you keep separate. Like if you're so toxic in that
but maybe the reason because he doesn't want to say sorry.
No.
Right? He doesn't want to say sorry, which I would assume that would have to be a part of the program, is him coming on TV saying, hey, that presser didn't really do me any favors. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
But he's not going to do that.
No.
So, yeah. It's crazy that this happened. Crazy that there was, allegedly a fight with the dog. Hope the dog is okay if that's the case. I hope Kenny's okay from getting bit if there's any merit to that. Like, the whole thing is just so crazy and so bizarre. Can't wait till 20 years when we hear the dark side of the ring on this one and people reenacting the bites and the dog going flying across the room or something. But yeah, I'm a big fan of The Elite. I'm a big fan of CM Punk as well, and especially the year he had. And I thought he came across so credible of helping the business of pro wrestling. And then in a span of 20 minutes, like totally tore that wallpaper down that he put up. So it's like, okay, like what, why? So I'm not saying like I'm definitely siding with The Elite. Again, I don't know if someone punched a dog or something like that. You don't know. But they've been great to me as a wrestling fan watching this product that I really enjoy. So I side with them in this case so far. Because that seems to be another thing when you're talking to your friends. Well, I side with him. Well, if you side with CM Punk, cool, but it doesn't change the fact he still sounded like an asshole in that promo.
100%.
So, go support Mindy's Muffins.
Well, we also had a big return this year. Saraya, Paige, made her AEW debut September 21st at Grand Slam, where she was a bit of a surprise appearance, helping out Tony Storm, taking on Britt and Jamie, and then has her first match since 2017 was it? On November 19th at Full Gear against Britt Baker.
Yeah. So Saraya coming back, it's something that we kind of were talking about the year prior. Like, hey, if that were to be an opportunity, I would imagine she would.
I think especially when Edge came back, there were a lot of talks like, all right, well, we've seen Edge come back. We've seen Daniel Bryan come back. Like, Paige, she was young. She's been out a few years. Is there a chance?
Yeah. So her coming back is definitely interesting. However, I don't think I'm on my own where it wasn't handled right with a lot of the storyline and specifically the promo she cut, basically kind of healing herself up unintentionally, where then now you would choose to vote for Britt Baker. We were at Full Gear with the match against Britt. It was okay, but your first match back.
I've only watched it. I haven't rewatched it, but I remember it being all right. But it still just felt weird. Like I didn't really know who to cheer for, and just that's where storytelling's important in wrestling. You need to get emotionally invested in the match, right?
So I feel like it's definitely salvageable and will become an asset in 2023 to have her, and I'm sure it'll bring some attention to the women's division and help them get some rub, and people having feuds with her and stuff will make sense. So cool. There is a potential. Again, we're recording this the 31st of 2022, last day of the year. But there's potential Sasha Banks also shows up to be there entangling with these people.
That's a tag match coming up, right?
So that's something that also could happen in AEW. But as a return, Paige was a somewhat big deal in WWE. They made a movie about her, right? That's pretty big to do for a wrestler. They don't do that just about everyone. John Cena doesn't have a movie. Paige does. It's a cool story. Which is also, I really like that movie actually. Fighting with My Family, Florence Pugh. But to see her now here, it sounds like, hey, I want to wrestle. But so far, that hasn't so much been the case. It's, hey, I want to talk a lot of shit that doesn't make sense.
For me, she's almost at that where Ronda Rousey is, where I'm like, you should be this huge star, and I forget you're in the company.
Yeah.
I'm like, Saraya shows up on TV. I'm like, oh, yeah, Saraya's here.
Yeah, you're here.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Didn't really enjoy your segment, and your match was okay.
We'll see.
Yeah, I think that should have just been a Britt clear heel, Saraya clear babyface. She's cleared, but she's unsure about herself. She hasn't wrestled in years, but she's gonna do it for the fans. You know, all that just easy shit. And then you saw with like Punk Derby, they did a pretty safe first match because, all right, I don't know what I can do.
Yeah.
So let's just do quite basic things that we know this crowd are gonna eat up, whatever, play to the crowd, and then, okay, I've got that first match out the way, and now I can actually, right, I've got off those cobwebs. You should have had like 100% of that crowd behind Saraya there, and the moment would have been huge. Her big win, her crying, like everything, and it didn't feel right.
No.
And I've followed her career a long time. I was there when she made her main roster debut and won the title. I was there when she announced her retirement. Like I feel like I've been there at quite a lot of her big moments, and I was there at her AEW return at Grand Slam, which
biggest
is huge.
Paige fan right here.
It seems like that, and it should have been a huge moment, and it wasn't. I hope they can turn things around.
It's weird. They did this storyline where Hangman and Punk. Remember when now looking back, you're like, ooh, you know, right? But the storyline, famous Hangman says, Punk, I'm not defending this title against you. I'm also defending AEW against you.
From you, yeah.
From you, right? Like, and that's pretty much the story with Britt, where it's like, well, actually, I'm defending AEW against people like you who just come back here for the paycheck and stuff like that. Where it's like, well, actually, wait, no, like, Britt, you're supposed to be the good guy then. Like, it was a little weird.
I think the problem is as well is there aren't those dream opponents in AEW in the women's division.
Yeah.
You have someone come in the men's division, and it's like, oh, cool, I'm going to see them against Kenny. I'm going to see them against Darby, Hangman, Moxley, all these people. Even like lower down, like your like Ricky Starks or your Swerves or those kind of people. So many matches. Dax. Saraya comes in. It's like, cool, you've done the Britt Baker match. A Jamie Hayter match will be good. Tony Storm. Then what else? Like, I know they're building people, but there's no one excited. I feel the same with, I don't really want Sasha Banks in AEW because I don't really see what the big matches are.
For sure.
And I think that's a big problem. Like, where does Saraya go from here?
Well, we'll see in 2023. Maybe we'll see her fight Sasha. Maybe we'll see Maybe we'll see Saraya take the title from Jamie. Like, you don't know. But unfortunately not.
That would turn her heel, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the best thing to do.
Yeah.
Heel Saraya. And then finally, again, we've talked about this pretty recently because we're coming to the end of the year. Mandy Rose's release from WWE on December 14th, right after dropping the title to Roxanne Perez on NXT.
Yeah, Mandy Rose has this crazy long run and then instantly drops the title in a kind of swerve episode of NXT, and then the next day released, and then comes out it's because, well, she has her OnlyFans, well, not an OnlyFans, but her fan time. And so she's gone from WWE. We did a whole kind of segment with this, which was great a few weeks ago. But kind of ending the year a lot more richer, maybe, possibly. I follow her social media in the past few days. She's been heavily promoting the same website, and I could only imagine the dollars keep piling up from this page. So you want to hear more about Mandy, who just goes by Mandy now, because I don't know if she could now use Mandy Rose, because that was her
Mandy Sachs, I guess.
Mandy Sachs was her name. So fantime.com/fitmandyinfo is where you can go.
I do wonder with those kind of sites, like, she's making a killing right now. What is the longevity with it?
Right.
You know, creating that kind of content.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't create that kind of content. But
should try.
It's like there's going to be that window, and then I'm sure people that subscribe to those kind of sites might not be subscribing a year from now. They might find the next Mandy they want to buy pictures of.
Sure.
Maybe. I don't know. With that, like, do you see any kind of wrestling return for her?
If it's something she wants to do, then there's definite places that would have her and probably allow her to promote that stuff on their shows. Essentially, that could be her like gimmick, if that's the thing. But I'm not sure. I guess we'll see in 2023 if wrestling is something she's still interested in doing.
And it was somewhat her gimmick in NXT. Like,
the gimmick was they zoom in on her chest as her entrance.
Also, so many of it was like, I'm not there tonight, I'm having a photo shoot. And you'd see her having this photo shoot.
I'm not there, I'm in my pool.
Exactly.
I'm in my jacuzzi. Here's me with no clothes on, but just the titles covering my... Like, that was...
And she'd be like, I'm more than just a model, I back it up in the ring, was kind of her thing. So, we've talked about this one to death, but... I don't know. I think there is. I can't say I'm itching to see Mandy somewhere, but I also do think there is a place for her as well, in a WWE again or an AEW.
Yeah, but possibly.
Make that money, girl.
Yeah, make it.
And well, that was it. That took us December 31st, right through to December 2022.
Pretty crazy. I mean,
crazy year. We've probably missed stuff. People are going to go, hey, this happened.
Yeah, like another thing is a lot of people getting released and then coming back to WWE. You know, you had that happen.
Let's try and list them. You had Dexter, you had Johnny, Karrion Kross, Hit Row, Candice LeRae, Tegan Knox,
Bronson, you just said,
Jonah. Bronson.
There's a bunch
Reed.
that left or were released and then have come back. There's a bunch that have been released and then go to AEW two times. There's
the end of NXT UK happened in 2022 with bringing kind of their top players to NXT, which has definitely helped NXT having that UK insertion.
Yeah, and for anyone who's interested in anything NXT UK, or maybe you haven't checked it out, check out our best match ever out there on the Patreon from a few months back, where we looked at the best matches from the whole history of NXT UK, and that was a lot of fun.
205 Live ended this year, right?
Was that still going?
I think so. Didn't we do the show?
We did a show on that one, too.
We did the show beginning of the year, didn't we?
Yeah, that's true. We did. We did a best match ever.
Because I think I was back home from that.
There you go. So pour one out.
Other things that happened this year.
Wow. That's like nothing in this year.
I'm sure we've missed loads. Like this.
Jeff Jarrett worked for WWE and AEW
and GCW.
Yeah,
Jeff Jarrett worked everywhere.
Holy shit, he popped up everywhere.
I think he worked at my bar one night. I'm pretty sure.
He's just make that money, Jeff, for sure. Working us all. Yeah, crazy year in pro wrestling.
Crazy.
We had him. We had Jeff Hardy. We had
Forbidden
Cena
Door happened this year.
Wrestling at the end of the year. We had Forbidden Door. We had New Japan. We have Kenny Ospreay is gonna happen this week, so that'll be a big thing to be talking about this next week. But like setting that up seems pretty big for wrestling fans. There was a whole lot happening. New Japan definitely was a lackluster year for them. Like, yes, cherry picking, still amazing banger matches, but the crowd definitely hurts the atmosphere of wrestling when there's no reaction. Therefore, when you watch at home, it's still a little jarring to try to get into. Still managed to put on great, fantastic wrestling, don't get me wrong, but when
lack of fresh characters.
Lack of that,
and lack of evolution of characters there as well.
Yeah, you can't just keep booking
Okada's
the same things.
still Okada, Tanahashi's still Tanahashi.
They just keep booking the same thing.
It's the same thing, and finally, after a while, like, you tell me, there was another great Shingo Ospreay match this year. It was great.
But it was great last year.
I've seen it 6 times.
Yeah.
It's
so looking forward to 2023. I'm hoping that there is some big things coming, and to start off with Kenny and Ospreay on the 4th is the great way to definitely jump back into New Japan. I'm speaking for myself, but I'm looking at it as a way to kind of, if they're doing this, maybe this year will be pretty good. So, yeah.
Well, that brings us to the end of the kind of wrestling portion, but I thought it's December 31st. It's time to talk about the rest of 2022, back with kind of news, media, pop culture, music, the lot. What are some highlights for the year for you?
Yeah, some highlights of 2022. There was some good movies. There was some good TV shows. I don't think I speak for myself for saying I loved Stranger Things. And I was someone who's like, they've done it all already. They can't get me back again. Like, the first few seasons were some great stuff. I don't know if they can recapture the magic.
Is that your show of the year?
I wouldn't say, but I'd say this year, season 4 was really good. Because the first few episodes, I'm like, the magic's gone. Something's off. by the end of the season, I'm like, those bastards.
It set it up perfectly as well for
Yeah.
just this epic,
Yeah.
like, final season,
I
right?
mean-
Like, the final image, going in,
Yeah.
you're like, okay, we're here for something huge in season 5.
And I mean, like, one of the songs of the year has to be because of that. Kate Bush running up that hill,
Yep.
like, brought
Bit of
that
a resurgence.
Yeah, how many times is that song? It's timeless because every like few years it blows up because kids find it and they're like, "Oh, this is good. This slaps. What is this?" It's like, yeah, it's an old song.
a good song.
And shout out Kate Bush for owning 100% of that song. So once again becomes way more richer
Amazing.
in 2022. So own your masters, people.
You see, that's a good thing. That's not Vince having to resign out of shame and then the stock going up and he makes millions
More
of
money?
dollars
Yeah.
for it.
Fine.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, I'd say that was a highlight.
Some other TV shows for me, it was the finale of Better Call Saul / Breaking Bad,
Right,
like something
yeah.
that's gone on well over a decade now, and I thought they wrapped up everything perfectly. By the end there, you married the timelines of
Yeah.
Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, and so many TV shows I love kind of don't quite stick the landing, and I thought that show was exceptional. Just brilliant writing, brilliant acting.
Yeah. I haven't watched Better Call Saul yet, but one day I love Breaking Bad.
You love Breaking
Yeah.
Bad. You'll love this show. It's so good.
This year I loved watching The Bear. I hope it comes
I
back.
still need to watch
Oh
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I hope it definitely has another season because there's so much more storytelling that they can do. But absolutely love that show. It was real quick and short too. Like you could watch it in like a day almost, pretty much. Really loved that. I'm trying to think of what else. TV.
House of the Dragon was really good.
Okay.
It's just now you've got TV. It's the same with Stranger Things, where you're making these movies and basically like hour-plus long movies, 10 episodes of them. You can't get it done in a year anymore, which is a shame because
Yeah.
House of the Dragon season 1 was fantastic. It's going to be about 2 years till we get season
Wow.
2. So waiting for that's frustrating. Succession still.
Is it coming back soon?
Succession's coming back soon. Season 3 was phenomenal. Absolutely try and catch up on that one because I'm sure season 4 will be one of my shows of 2023. But loved doing that. Loved doing the sesh and people chat about Succession with. But those for me were probably my top 3 TV shows of the year.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I didn't watch a whole lot of TV. I started and caught up with The Boys, so it's going to take a little while for their next season to come out. But I really latched onto that show this year. I flew through that. I know I didn't watch all of it yet, but I've watched a little bit of the Wednesday Netflix show, The Addams Family, and people are going off, and it's just blown up. So good for them for having another giant hit.
Yeah, I've heard good things. I will give it a go. Looking at it, I feel it's going to be a Riverdale where season 1's really fun, and then I don't know if I'll still be invested. But I've heard pretty good things about it so far, so I'll check it out.
I know people went crazy for. I didn't watch. I forgot about this. The Peacemaker with John Cena. I didn't watch that at all.
I started it when I was back home.
Oh,
I need to get back on it, but that was pretty fun. John Cena's great.
Yeah, I forgot about that. And then another one. I'm behind. I'm telling you, but I did not check out. But my boss, every time I go to work, asks me if I've seen Moon Knight, and I'm like, no, I haven't. He's like, you idiot, you have to watch this show. I don't even like Marvel, and I love this show. I'm like, all right, I'll watch it.
That's another one I've started along with Andor. I've very much fallen behind. I haven't given up on Marvel and Star Wars, but it's been a hell of a year. But yeah, Moon Knight, what was it, Miss Marvel, I still haven't seen. Andor I still need to watch. There's a bunch from this year I still need to check out.
I attempted to watch the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reboot.
Oh,
the dramatization reboot, which is very Riverdale itself. I watched a few episodes of that, and it was interesting and kind of a different take on it, but I don't think I'll be catching up on it as much. What about movies? Any particular movies this year? I mean, we're talking about this as, Avatar 2 just came out a few weeks this week.
My plan, if I'm not too hungover New Year's Day, which I am working tonight, so I hopefully shouldn't be too hungover, but we'll see, is I'm going to go and see it tomorrow.
Gotcha.
But that's a long film to watch on a hangover.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Bring snacks.
I will say I've put it on the kind of graphic if you're watching this.
Yeah.
Top Gun Maverick has to be
absolutely
right up there.
I had no interest in watching a Top Gun remake. And then as soon as it came out and I saw the trailer, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll probably have to watch that. And then the reviews, not only the reviews, but word of mouth. Every single person was like, okay, this movie. We met someone at a bar who overheard us discussing, oh, we should go see it. Like, everyone's saying it's good. And she interjects in our conversation. She's like, I've seen it 3 times. I'm seeing it 4 tomorrow. And we're like, whoa, okay.
My friend has seen it like 10 times.
Yeah, I've talked to people who've seen it like 4 or 5 different times. I'm like, that's insane.
And what I loved about this film is, I got to admit, and I know a lot of people disagree with me, I fucking hated all this straight to streaming service movies.
Okay.
People don't make movies to go straight to your TV or your laptop or your phone to watch it. People make movies to be on a huge screen where you go and it's an event to watch this film. And I love that both this film did it and Spider-Man No Way Home last year did it. Where I was like, no, this is going to be in the theaters until people stop going to the theaters to see it. Top Gun Maverick was in the theaters for months because it had that. It's just come out on like DVD and Blu-ray, I think, or if that's still a thing, or streaming services. But like, it was a thing where word of mouth was like, no, you got to see this. Like the fucking flight sequences, seeing it in a huge theater, like you got to see it, and that's why it's like fucking killing it.
It's one of the biggest movies of all time.
Because it could have done 2 weeks and now it's on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Or Paramount Plus.
It's Paramount's largest grossing movie of all time.
Yeah, so I'm glad we're getting back to that. Like, if you like watching movies at home, there's literally millions of movies that's been made that you can watch at home. Yeah. But let's keep the cinema alive, people.
Yeah. Tom Cruise jumping out of planes.
Yeah.
He's still doing that, and he's wishing everybody a happy new year, promoting Mission Impossible for next year. We might have to catch up on those movies so I can go watch that in theaters, because I'm telling you, man, I had no interest in Top Gun, and then watching it, I got right into it, and I absolutely loved it. It even had not quite a beach volleyball scene, but a beach football scene.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, it had all the ticks for me in that movie. It was awesome. Really loved that movie this year.
The Batman came out this year, which we need to complete our Batman series with Robert Pattinson's Batman, which I really enjoyed, and I'm quite looking forward to kind of going back and maybe picking at it in a bit more detail.
Yeah, I watched it once in theaters, and I remember really liking it, but I don't know if on a rewatch it'll do the same magic. I feel like when I think about it, I don't like it as much as when I walked out of the theater. So one day we'll have to tackle that.
What I did love with that film is just how they presented Batman as like a horror character.
Right.
Like a Michael Myers. You felt scared for the petty criminals who have just pickpocketed someone, and then he comes out and you're oh shit, you're fucked.
Well, hold on a second. We have different views, because what I saw was a whiny little fucking bitch Kurt Cobain Batman watching this.
Not when he's Batman. When he's Bruce. When he's a whiny little Kurt Cobain when he's Bruce. But when he's Batman, he's more Michael Myers, I'd say.
You know what? Favorite movie as well as Top Gun. I'm just remembering everything. What is it? Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. I hope this movie gets some Oscar nominations, because I think this is a must-watch from 2020. Absolutely loved the story, and the effects in this movie were second to none. I only seen it once, but I definitely.
I think it's on Prime now, and I very much want to watch it. I've heard nothing but good things about that.
Smoke a fatty and watch that one. Same with Nope. I saw that in theaters this year, and I really loved that. A different take on like kind of alien or UFO kind of movie there. Love anything Jordan Peele's been doing, but that one definitely stuck with me. I saw that in theaters, which definitely was a good theater movie to see. I'm trying to think of what else.
Halloween Ends was awful, unfortunately.
We definitely talked about that a few weeks when that came out, but yeah, that was definitely a letdown. It was not really a Halloween movie at all, and not really the big, dramatic, triumphant end to the whole series as it was trying to be. They dropped the ball on that completely, I would say. There's
a lot I haven't been able to see yet this year still. I still need to see the new Black Panther. I saw Doctor Strange, that was fun.
Yeah.
Thor Love and Thunder was pretty fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the new Scream 5, was it this year?
It was fun, but it was exactly what I don't know. I wasn't expecting it to blow me away. It didn't blow me away, but it was exactly what I thought it was.
My main thing with the Scream films is, as long as the concept is like every film, you know, the original is the concept of a horror film. Like that's what the killer is doing. He's following the tropes of a horror film.
Right.
The sequel, it's the tropes of a sequel. I liked how they did the requel thing here, where it's like we're redoing the original but with some changes. We're calling it's a sequel, but it's like a reboot, but it's also a sequel. Even so much just calling it Scream, which is the trend these days. It's like the new Halloween. It's like, oh, it's just Halloween. We're not calling it Halloween 9 or whatever. It's just Halloween 2020. So I did think that was pretty smart.
It's like WrestleMania play button instead of WrestleMania 40 because they're like, or whatever. You're forgetting like everyone's real big top movie of the year was Morbius.
Oh God, no, I still haven't
seen it.
Still haven't seen it. Probably won't.
One day I'll watch more until someone picks it for one of our Patreon shows. I don't think I'll be watching it.
Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday
in 2022. When it comes to some music, I mean wrestling themes, there was some new ones like Joe Gacy and stuff. But I went to a bunch of concerts, but I'd say one of my favorite was we went together with some friends to Rufus du Sol in the summertime, and like they put out some new music this last year or the year before. So kind of seeing them perform it and having a huge party out in the summertime. That was a great concert that we got to see this year. So that was top. That was some of my listening habits of 2022 was Rufus, especially in the summertime. Anything else for you?
I can't think of much new music that came out this year. Like I'm looking at the list of like top songs this year, and I can't say any of it really connected with me.
Because you're not on TikTok, and that's where
I'm on TikTok now.
Oh, now you're on TikTok.
Now I'm on TikTok.
TikTok.
But yeah, like none of this, none of it.
There wasn't too much this year music-wise that I like The Weeknd, but that was kind of the beginning of the year.
That was more last year, no? The Weeknd,
like right beginning of the year, I think so. But still, it was all right. There was some good stuff. I went to what else? Concerts that really blew me away. Kurungbin, I'd recommend a lot of people checking out. I've definitely talked about that with Jordan on the Detox. If you like music talk, definitely listen to Detox and What Up Doe, both shows that have dropped because we definitely dived into stuff from the year. I'm trying to think. I don't know.
Oh, for TV, Jake reminds us Obi-Wan Kenobi came out this year.
Oh,
which was really fun.
You know what? I really enjoyed that. It felt like more fan service, which I was okay with. I saw like some negative feedback to that show, but they just made Obi-Wan Kenobi have his own show, and it was what you kind of figured it was going to be. So I really enjoyed that as well. There was the World Cup. That's what a lot of people were watching. I mean, there was like something like 80 million viewers for that final.
One of the best finals ever as well. Like awesome final.
Yeah.
Really fun tournament. Like a tournament, it needs to be a bit like wrestling at times. You got your underdog stories going through. You got your top teams. Sometimes you have one of your big stars who like slips on a banana peel and gets eliminated early in like your Spains and stuff.
Right.
Like it was a fun tournament this year. I got really into it.
Yeah.
And it didn't come home, but maybe next time.
It'll always come home. Other things that happened this year, I'd say one of the most popular things that went on in 2022 that everyone talked about and will continue to talk about for the rest of life, Will Smith slapping the ever-loving piss out of Chris Rock at the Oscars.
I got hate from my opinions on this one. Someone listened to our show and decided...
I said the wrong things, and people decided to side with me. We did a little show and gave like lots of thoughts on it, and then someone's like, yeah, fuck you, Braden. And I was like, wait, actually, I said I thought it was pretty funny when he got slapped.
That was one of those nights where I was living back home.
Yeah.
And so it's super late, and I woke up and I couldn't get back to sleep. So I was like, the Oscars are on. I'll put it on. And the slap heard around the world happened, and you're like, guess I'm not going to sleep now, because you're then just watching everything. You're seeing everyone's live reaction on Twitter. Like, what the fuck happened? Was it a work?
Yeah.
Was it a work? Was it a shoot? That was definitely like the picture for 2022.
Slap.
Yeah.
Slap heard around the world. Yeah, I mean, Will Smith has now apologized. Chris Rock has really not wanted anything to do with that. He's not really accepted that apology or talked to him or seen him.
Chris Rock hasn't?
I don't think so. I know Will Smith has put out apologies and said a lot of things. He's also doing press for his new movie, so you would figure he's got to kind of, get people back on his side. He kind of comes across as the bad, he slapped a guy, so you can't really be doing that. There is two sides to it. Of course, the guy made fun of your wife, but like that's what Hollywood is. That's what people do. So you can't really just, However, it's a piece of pop culture, timeless thing that will always be referenced and will always be brought up for like the rest of life. Like I said, like it's just something that was so like polar. Everyone was talking about that for like the next few weeks after that. Everywhere you went, I was trying to buy shoes. And the guy's talking to me about that. I'd go over here. This guy's talking. Like, you could not avoid people talking about that anytime that they possibly could. So, Chris Rock getting slapped by Will Smith was pretty funny. Yeah, one of my top songs this year was Getting Jiggy With It, just because I was putting Will Smith, which I shouldn't have been doing. But, we can move on. It's not like he killed the guy. He just slapped him. Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah.
I think we need to have the roast of Will Smith, though.
I don't think he could handle it.
He's gonna slap everyone.
He's, fragile ego, fragile body.
Oh yeah, workers' rights. That was a big moment. What else this year? I'd say there was another big thing. I mean, Kim Kardashian and Pete Davidson. Their relationship was just everywhere in the media, and the whole Kanye West love triangle of how she's split from Kanye West and then gets with Pete Davidson.
Do you blame her?
Looking at it in hindsight, yeah. And then she like publicly, is out there with Pete Davidson, and then Kanye kind of making all crazy threats to this guy, and it was an interesting thing. Like whether you were, checking up on it, on your TMZs, which I don't usually go to TMZ.com unless they post wrestling stuff. But this story, like everyone knew that these two were dating. It's like you couldn't, for some reason, avoid knowing this information. Like, why do I need to know these people are dating? But Pete Davidson, as a bro, just has this great track record.
Yeah, he's doing all right for
himself. He's doing very well for himself.
But he's not having them stick, is he? He's a bit of a Taylor Swift.
He just got it out of his last relationship.
Yeah, I
just
know.
Saw this week on the news.
So like Kanye was like hunting down Pete Davidson, and then they split up, and then he decided to move from him to just the Jewish community.
Yeah, I don't know if Kanye West just having a really
and now he's missing.
Now he's missing as we're recording this. Apparently he's missing. I don't know. Yeah. Kanye West definitely
like that's something you could do a Dark Side of the Ring, a movie about this whole year with Kanye and the Kardashians and stuff.
Yeah, man.
That would make me watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Is
them talking
this
about
shit
that?
This year? It's wild.
Well, Pete Davidson was featured on Kardashians this year, so he's getting that bag as well.
Good for him.
Good for Pete Davidson. Someone we can all look up to in life. We all can look up to Pete Davidson and his incredible track record. But yeah, Kanye West thing has definitely been taken over the news. I'm so checked out of it. I'm so over it. He's one of my all-time favorites. A lot of his old albums are fantastic and some of my all-time favorites. I know all the lyrics, been to his shows. He's an incredible performer and artist. But this year, man, absolutely a lot of the stuff he has said and come out and said and then double down on, triple down on. Yeah. It's like just disappear for sure. He's someone who needs to come out and realize either get back on your meds, get off the wrong ones, or I don't know. But mental health has clearly been the issue like last year with this guy, and then now this year with a lot of the anti-Semitic stuff. Nah, I ain't fucking with it. So I haven't put on a Kanye song in a long time. Let's leave it at that.
We've had a lot of people pass away this week alone.
This week,
like shout out Don West and the Pope.
Shout out Don West, man. Oh, the old Pope.
The Pope died today.
Oh,
Pope Benedict.
Pope Benedict,
the 16th, died today. Vivian Westwood just passed away this week.
Wow.
Pele.
Oh,
Barbara
man.
Walters.
Barbara Walters.
Yeah.
Pour one out.
Yeah. Sad when people die.
That was all just like recent.
That was all this like the last 4 days.
I feel like there was a bunch of people who passed away in 2022, but yeah, pour one out for all the ones we lost.
Yeah.
Pretty sad, but yeah, time goes on. What was else? I mean,
let's cheer us up. We're sad now.
Kanye, there's a war going on.
And the Pope.
Yeah, you want to cheer up? There's a war going on in Ukraine.
Oh yeah,
Russia is invading them. That's fucking really sad. Anytime I've read about that in the past little while, I get so fucking angry. So war, what is it good for? But yeah, don't like that. I think we need to end that real quick.
And it's kind of like scary in a way how quiet it's gone on the media, right? Because it was everywhere, and it's definitely kind of taken a back seat to other stuff. I know it's overwhelming and it's depressing, but it's fucking scary what's happening over there.
It is very sad, and you know, trying to keep up and seeing what's happening. It's like, oh man, but hoping that it doesn't continue the way it kind of has been in 2023, but it looks as if it will do just that. So yeah.
There was like a tweet from who was it? Basically saying we could solve like poverty if like some of these billionaires donated like 1% of their worth or whatever it is. And Elon Musk said, well, if you can prove it, I'll fork up the money. I guess it couldn't be proved because he went and bought Twitter instead, which I don't think is helping with the poverty.
No,
I don't think it's helping many people, to be honest.
No, he decided $44 billion would be the right amount to spend on the Bird app, which is free. I don't know how he uses Twitter, but I use it for free when I use it. So
well, that's why you ain't got that blue tick, isn't it?
Yeah, I can for $8, which then goes to help him buying Twitter. I guess for
more
44.
of Twitter.
Yeah. I don't know, man. That is so ridiculous. I remember that where he was like, "Hey, I could help world poverty. I could just give everyone on Earth money, and I'd still be rich." Yeah, okay, let's do it. Sorry, how much for Twitter? Sold. Fuck world hunger. I don't need.
Has he now stepped down running it? Because he did put out the poll.
I don't know.
He's
He's trolling in half the time. So yeah, my stock in that guy has dropped as a fan.
Oh, he sucks.
Yeah,
he fucking sucks.
He really does. I thought he was pretty funny back in the day, but now I'm just like so over the shit he says and how he's very hypocritical of the own shit he says. So.
Yeah.
If he was, I don't believe he was born in the U.S., but if he was
He's South African.
Yeah, if he was born in the U.S., you know this guy would be trying to run for presidential shit in the future, so at least we don't get that, but yeah.
Oh, forgot to mention, Queen died as well. She's someone who died this year.
Right, pour one out for the Queen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God Save the King.
Yeah.
Charles, Harry
His
and Meghan
Majesty's
dropped a hot documentary on Netflix.
Hot doc.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Queen died and Harry's making money from it.
Yeah. Less. That's pretty huge as well.
Yeah, so when does the next king come into play? Like, this king has to die and then we get the next king?
Yeah, that's how it works.
Okay, so who's the king now?
So Charles is the king now.
Charles.
And then it'll be William. And then after William will be...
his son.
George? I think George is the oldest.
Little kid.
Yeah.
So every time you see this little kid in the media,
So it goes through the kids next until George has a kid.
Right.
And then it'll be his kid.
Wow.
So yeah.
The monarchy.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, so the queen's gone.
Yeah, it's sad.
Pour one out. Is it?
People die, but like, yeah she seemed okay.
She seemed nice.
Yeah.
Unless you watch the Harry doc.
Yeah. Hey, they never shit on the queen.
They never shit on the queen, but they never not shit on the queen. When she does I've seen the clip. I've not watched the whole thing, but like the clip everyone's playing is her mocking the curtsy, and Harry's like, "That's definitely not how we do that, but okay. Thanks for like shitting on my mom." Or sorry, grandma.
Grandma, yeah.
But yeah, pour one out for the queen. Pour one in for someone who had an incredible year. We got to give a shout out to one of the superstars of 2022, the Corn Kid.
This kid just likes corn?
It's corn! Who doesn't like corn? It's corn. So this kid just had a great year eating corn, expressing his love for corn, and now being way richer and more successful than I will ever be. So shout out that kid and shout out corn.
I should have picked corn instead of wrestling, really, shouldn't I? To
tell
the world about it.
Should I dive into the world of corn?
Would it be like bigger?
What would a corn hub?
Corn hub.
Welcome to our weekly show about corn.
Talking about Corn Hub.
Whoa, hold on.
I went to my local, my like regular coffee shop the other day, and this guy is sat like there's a little chair by the end of like the coffee bar, and he's going on just shitting on oat milk. He's just saying like, what is it? All this oat milk, almond milk. Like back in my day, you had your coffee black, or you had some like good old fashioned cow milk in there, and the barista's like, clearly this guy just sits there and goes on and on all the time. It's like, okay, well, you know, some people like allergic to dairy or like other issues, or just prefer the taste. And this guy's just going on, and he's waving his phone around as he's doing it. And then I catch what's on his phone.
Like on his screen.
And it's Pornhub compilation of the best cum shots. He's just watching it with his fucking black coffee
in a
at
cafe.
like 11 a.m. in the morning in a cafe.
Weirdo. But oat milk's fucking terrible.
You don't like oat milk? No. Oat milk's great.
No, I'm just
saying. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn. I mean, it's a free country. But
I guess. But
still.
Public Wi-Fi, still.
Yeah, who uses Pornhub? What a sicko.
RedTube all the way, no?
I don't know that one, but I'm going to write it down. I'm trying to look at other stories from 2022. Obviously, gas was expensive. That was something.
Nah, we don't care. We don't drive.
We live in the city. We walk everywhere. There was a truck convoy thing that I think still somehow there's still trickling down of people still caring about that. Like, get over it.
Yeah.
Come on, just go outside.
Yeah.
Live your life. Like,
touch grass. Yeah.
Yeah, please do. There was the Winter Olympics.
Nah, I don't care about that.
Didn't really care about that either.
That didn't happen.
Yeah. Oh, the Pope had an apology for some things, but you're saying
died.
the other Pope died. But yeah, there was Wordle.
Wordle was good. That was a good thing about 2022. I should get back into it this winter.
Yeah.
I liked a bit of Wordle. Quordle was good as well.
Quordle?
That was like the 4 Wordles at the same time.
And then to bring everything back down, there's probably like, I don't know, 100 like U.S. shootings or something.
Don't end on that one.
Sorry.
End on Pornhub.
I don't know.
I thought I had the best finish.
I don't know a good one to end on.
Old man watching Pornhub.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
What was our show of the year?
Our show of the year?
Yeah, what was your favorite show we did this year?
That we've done?
Yeah.
Like podcast-wise? I liked our first Poisonrana a few weeks ago. I've liked every Poisonrana that we've done so far, because finally making some changes to our own podcast was pretty fun. So 2023 is going to be lit.
Uh-oh.
Get ready for that, guys. We're going to have some great content coming. But when it comes to maybe some Patreon shows, I like when we do retro wrestling reviews. That's always fun. I like when people pick stuff on our Up Yours shows. So we've got to watch some really great and interesting movies that maybe I wouldn't have watched if certain patrons haven't picked. So that's always fun. We did a Goodfellas review. That was my birthday pick, and I really enjoyed it. Finally getting to talk about that movie. I really loved that. What about you?
I'm trying to just remember what we did. It was recency bias, but Home Alone 2 with John Pollock was great.
Yeah.
I always enjoy the behind the BDEs that we do.
Yeah, we did Hocus Pocus.
Rewatching Ratatouille and making Ratatouille, that was pretty fun.
That was pretty good, yeah.
Some of the best match evers I've liked. I'm trying to think. Like, nothing still has reached the level of Freddie Got Fingered, but
no, not quite.
I've enjoyed our shows.
We've done a few different things. We did a best match ever Owen Hart in honor of the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. So go check that out.
The Io Shirai show with Karen, that was really fun.
Oh man, that one was great. We did a Barely Legal 97 25th anniversary review, ECW. That was fun. We did a best match ever Scott Hall as well. Pour one out for Scott Hall. We did a Baywatch Bash at the Beach.
That one was pretty good.
/ Boy Meets World show with Brandon from New Jersey. That was fantastic.
Dunstan Checks In.
Dunstan Checks In was easily the best podcast that we did in 2022.
Yes.
I forgot about that.
I'm putting that.
Was it the 25th anniversary? Is that why we did it, or we just did it? It was Monkey Day. Chimpanzee Day.
Orangutan Day?
Yeah. Monkey Day.
I'm looking up when International Moth Day
Moth Week.
We need to...
It's International Moth Week.
Okay, got to wait till July for that Mothman Prophecies
man.
review.
Mothman Prophecies coming soon.
Yeah, we will.
Dunstan Checks In was easily the podcast of the year.
Yes, we need that sequel.
Yeah, one day. But yeah, it's been a good year with all these different podcasts, and we couldn't do it without all our listeners.
And thank you, listeners.
Yeah, thank you for listening.
Who was Listener of the Year?
Listener of the Year?
Yeah.
Let's see here. Who we got here? Listener of the Year. I'd say Dickie Bird.
Yeah.
He did a lot this year. He not only helping us and does stuff behind the scenes.
Flew all the way from Australia.
Flew from Australia to come hang out with us. That's a pretty big fucking deal. So that he's definitely listener of the year. Any of the BSK, Eric, B Detroit, John Cino, Frank, Brandon. Trying to think of some other ones. We got Maddie B. Anyone who really tweets us all the time.
I don't have favorites. They're all my favorite.
Yeah.
Anyone who listens to this show is my favorite.
Yeah, I'm listening to all these different people. Definitely not.
Unless your name's Brandon.
Yeah, or MJ. Yeah, all the listeners are my favorites. I'm kidding. I love everyone who listens to us, and anyone in this community is great. But 2023 is going to be even better. We're going to have so many different things going on, especially with this whole new brand change for us. We managed to put on live events this year, like at the bars in Toronto. You even were overseas doing stuff with Grapple over there.
Did the Leeds show, Did Cheap Shots in Queens. That was fun.
So that was crazy. We did a show. I did a few watch parties in Toronto for some pay-per-views in the city, and that was we had incredible feedback from that and people showing up. The WrestleMania party, Revolution party. We then did our AEW Dynamite post party, the after party at Sneaky D's. We did wrestling karaoke. That was just so much fun and just got wild. And highlights of the year for me, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I think that's where we will say goodbye and put a little bow on 2022, and we'll see you all in 2023.
We will. Go check us out on the socials at Poisonrana Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We're trying to get the Instagram back to the way it was before they deleted it a year ago.
Yeah,
so.
At one point we had 34,000 people on our Instagram, and now we had to start again. 200.
So go follow us, guys.
Go give us a follow.
Go follow us and go support us. Go give us likes, RTs, all that stuff is always appreciated. And patreon.com/upnext. Only $5. You get access to all the podcasts that we do and everything coming in the next month. So we're looking forward to that. We love you guys so much. That's it. That's all. Take care. Goodbye. Be safe. And Happy New Year.
Ahoy!
Poisonrana.